Sorry, dude, I got diverticulitis of the penis.
I gotta get my meniscus fixed. Bro, you don't even have a meniscus anymore. I gotta get it fixed again.
My liver is elevated.
We're doing drug testing for the next 3 days.
Brother, I have 8 surgeries in the next 3 days.
Holy shit.
Sorry, dude, Dr. Pepper won't let me be.
Dr. Thunder. Dr. Thunder, brother. Dr. Thunder, you're not gonna touch my ass, brother. Only Dr. Pepper touches my ass. Dude, come kiss me on the lips, Brooke.
They gotta drain my balls, dude.
Diverticulitis of the penis.
That means a knotted dick.
I'm sweating. Oh,
it shows them cutting open Hulk Hogan's penis on the video.
This doesn't prove anything, by the way.
No, that couldn't have been me, dude. That's Brock Boulder.
This doesn't prove anything. Let's go see Hogan live right now. It's like a video package.
Yeah, what? It's a fucking highlight reel of him getting his cock cut open.
Oh my.
Yeah, that absurdly is diverticulitis of the penis. That's right, doctor. We're glad to remove that.
He's not gonna make it.
He's not gonna make it to the TNA drug test. Please tell Eric Bishop.
Please tell them Hulk Hogan has died.
He's died for the next 3 days. Make sure that they know that.
On the 3rd day, he will be risen.
Hulk Hogan will rise again on the 3rd day.
With a bigger penis.
And he will no longer have diverticulitis of the penis. And you can sign that off, Dr. Pepper.
It's like a piece of paper written in crayons.
I didn't write that, dude.
Oh my god.
It's Hulk Hogan scribbled out, Dr. Pepper.
Hulk Hogan definitely is sick. Can't make it.
Yeah, I'm sick all right.
This
dude.
is a warning
Shit.
to all living mortals. That who shall ever open this chest of demons will release 13 of the most terrifying ghosts upon the face of the earth. Okay, cut it. This isn't going to work. Let's try some nostalgia bait.
It's mighty strange. You looking happily deranged. I can't settle this in bed. Or have you picked your target yet? Listen, dear. Got your dog bite. Listen, dear.
Okay, that was better. But let's try something a bit more cinematic.
You about to witness hip-hop in its most purest, most rawest form, flow, almost flawless, most hardest, most honest, known artist. Chip off the old block, but old Doc is back. Looks like Batman brought his own Robin. Oh God, Saddam's got his own Laden. Off the hinges, oranges, peach, pears, plums, oranges. Yeah, here I come, I'm inches away from you, dear, fear none. Hip-hop is in a state of 911 zone. Let's get down to business. I don't got no time to play around. What is this? Must be a circus in town. Let's shut the shit down on these clowns. Can I get a witness? Hell yeah. Let's get down to business.
Yeah, that's the shit I like. Let's start the Barroom podcast. Take it away, Jacob.
Diverticulitis of the penis is now canon. It is now officially a canon event. It's going to live in infamy.
The second most painful thing that can happen to your penis, second only to that fish in the Amazon that swims up your dick.
Mm-hmm. Or
That
putting
shit
in
hurt.
Rosie O'Donnell. That will also hurt. That would
All right,
also be
so
very
we just
bad.
adjusted the list for a new cosmic horror. All right.
Yeah, this is actually going to be like an important show. So it's actually
It does not feel like it.
We're talking about real life events in the course of tonight's show, but we started off with that. So I think it's safe to say it is in fact all downhill from here. So how you guys doing? It's episode 157 of the Barroom Podcast, and I'm joined with lovely people, lovely, good, handsome-looking individual males. Question mark. Hey, Cider, how's it going?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Say that and start with me. Great. Slam Ball is awesome, and I've only ever watched it with you guys. So there.
There's going to be more Slam Ball in the future. Not tonight, but in the future, there will be more Slam Ball.
So ready. My body is ready, Jacob. My body is ready for Slam Ball. Get me in the tramp.
As long as they're not ready for that tiny penis fish.
I learned that from the River Monster television show, and that was not the subject of the River Monster episode. I was like,
Right.
it should be. That should be the subject of the River Monster episode.
That's the subject of anything that goes on in the Amazon.
Yeah, right. Like that should be number one. Like while you're here.
Like, way to bury the lead.
Right, the beautiful countryside, the wonderful jungle. Oh, by the way, there's fish that crawl into your penis and bite the inside of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hey, Eddie, how's it going?
I feel like a fish is in my penis.
Yeah, that seems to be going around a lot.
I have a lot of intestinal problems right now,
What?
so if I jump out,
I think that's chlamydia, but yeah.
I was gonna say, have you been hanging with Hulk Hogan recently? Because he had a lot of surgeries for that, apparently.
that's what the penis fish are called, chlamydia. They climb through the water and into your penis.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I took anatomy and physiology before my medical coding class, and I can tell you that's universally not true. But hey, guys, so a really bad Superman movie just came out, and I had to go see it. Well, no, I didn't. I made myself go see it, just because I, needed to put myself through that. But yeah, no, other than that, I'm doing pretty well.
You're talking about like it's a car accident. Other than the car accident, guys, I'm doing all right.
Everybody here has seen The Mummy, right, with Brendan Fraser?
Yeah.
Okay. It like that guy screaming because the scarab beetle like is eating his brain. Like that's what I imagine that fish, making its way up your urethra. That's pretty brutal. Like that's pretty just like who wants to live after that? You know what I mean? So
Who wants to live to tell that tale?
exactly.
And you thought Australia was dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, it's going to be a very interesting night here. So let me go ahead and say this. We got three very, very solid topics here to discuss here that's going to go very, very deep in conversation on some very, very deep things. But before we get into that, we're going to kind of like ease it on with kind of a softball topic. And then once that softball topic is over, we're just going all in on this whole thing. So this show has the potential to go completely off the rails. And that's exactly why I invited these three individuals to be on tonight's show. Because it's going to get crazy, ladies and gentlemen. This show's not getting monetized. I'm not even going to try to monetize tonight's show.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
This is going
you
to be
opened up with diverticulitis of the penis. Really? You're not trying to monetize it? How about that?
no. This was like yellow from the jump. Like, we're not even going. We're just going all in here tonight. But
Is that racist? That feels racist.
It depends on what region of it is. I mean, I don't think the Koreans care. The Chinese might get a little butthurt though. But that's
It's only racist if you're a penis fish.
Yeah. Well, speaking of diverticulitis of the penis, let's go to our chat room here. We are live here on YouTube, Rumble, and on X. So we got everyone joining us here tonight. We have Vanya joining us here, moderating tonight's show. Leslie Tarkin is also here as well. Lisa Dawn joining us. We got Keith over on our Rumble side of things here tonight. Doba Fett's here with us. Got Zykid over there on Rumble as well. Who else do we got trickling in for tonight's show? There's a lot of things. If this is going to get serious, that means that Rick isn't going to be. No, he'll be here. I will drag his ass from Juarez to order to be on this show here tonight. He will be here. So, and then a bunch of other things we got coming on too. So let's ease on into tonight's show. That's the best way that I can say it, is easing on into it. So let's start off with kind of a softball one. Nick Offerman is apparently upset that quote unquote dumb people are liking his character that he did on Parks and Rec, and he's offended by the fact that people think that Ron Swanson, the caricature of a right-wing libertarian figure, would be a pro-MAGA supporter. And he took his frustrations out over the last couple of days about anyone who thinks that, his character would support Trump. Let's see if I can pop this up here. Oh, yep, there we go. Thanks. By the way, StreamYard made a whole bunch of, what can I say, unconsensual changes to their layouts over the last couple of days. Not exactly a big fan of it. Especially, over last Sunday's show, The Bible Ends was kind of the best, but, we slowly figured everything out here. But Nick Offerman says that dumb people insist that Ron Swanson would have voted for Trump, but he says that Ron would have despised Trump because of his disrespect to women. That's the issue you think he's going to die on a hill on, is the disrespect? We'll get to that here in a second. Nick Offerman said that in an interview with IndieWire while promoting his film Sovereignty, which sounds terrible. I haven't seen the trailer for it. It just sounds bad. That movie says that the only dumb people think that Ron Swanson, his beloved Parks and Rec's character, is a Donald Trump supporter. Offerman played Ron for 7 seasons, 2009 to 2015. The actor said that MAGA supporters think maybe he's one of us just because he has a shotgun or something. It says dumb people insist that Ron Swanson would have voted for Trump. I don't deny to answer myself. He says I will take it to Mike Schur, who's the main creator of Ron. He says Swanson would have despised Trump, he says, because he loved capitalism, and Donald Trump is the stupidest move that you can make as a capitalist, which is to go into public service, right? So that's his opening declaration. There it continues. It says he would think he's an absolute idiot. First of all, I love the fact how he says that I'm not going to try to get into this character's head because I didn't create it. I'm going to leave it to the creator of the character, and then proceed to do exactly what he said that he wasn't going to do in the very next sentence. I hope anyone was following that too. But his Offerman would have continued his thoughts about Trump. He would have despised him because he's disrespectful to women and many others. It's just an example of all the people and the value that that Rod would despise, because Ron is a good person. Everyone thinks that they're a good person. Spoiler alert, you're not all good people. I think that we don't say that enough. I think more people need to hear that. You're not as good as a person as you think that you are. In some cases, you might actually be a scumbag. And you probably should just come to terms with it. But
why did you look at me when you said that?
How do you know I was looking at you? You got a camera in here?
Why did I laugh when he said that as if it was incredibly true about me? No, it's fine. It's fine.
Offerman has always been the protective over Ron since Parks and Recreation wrapped. Earlier this year, the actor defended the LGBTQ community against homophobic hate after his character. This is actually an add-on to that. Michael Flynn Jr. of the retired Army Lieutenant General and former Trump U.S. advisor attempted to use the clip of Ron Swanson to denounce Pride Month. It says, just to post how I feel about Pride Month, Flynn Jr. put a meme of a clip of Parks and Recs, and then Swanson throwing the rainbow flag into the dumpster. The clip was originally doctored. Oh, really? It wasn't a real clip of him throwing a LGBTQ pride flag into the dumpster? That's a shocker. But the real scene obviously has him throwing a computer in the trash can. Of course, we know it's a meme. We know what memes are. Variety. No one actually thought that it was a real flag. That was. You guys are idiots. It says that Ron was the best man at a game wedding. You dumb fuck. He replied back on X. He says happy Pride. Right. He also went on this whole diatribe. Was it like this year or like last year when they were doing The Last of Us season 2? And there was like the whole, I actually think it was season 1, so I might be a little bit further back. But yeah, it was further back when it was The Last of Us season 1, and he was playing a gay character, and he was making out with a dude, and everyone was like, I don't want to see that shit. And then he had a whole big meltdown about that here too. But this is a common theme that I've noticed here with a lot of people in Hollywood, is that they create these characters that are very, very popular, and then years after the fact, they start lashing out at the fan base of that character because the fan base of that character is not someone who they approve of. We talked about this in a story last year with the character of Homelander and about how the creator of that show was very, very upset that people like Homelander because Homelander is supposed to be a parody of Trump. To his own admission, when he sees Homelander on the show, it is Donald Trump. And he got very, very upset that people actually like the character of Homelander. He got popular because in his mind, that's Trump and you're not supposed to like him. And now the same thing we have here, a same argument that we had a couple of years ago with the Punisher character, while a lot of people were upset that police officers had, Punisher decals on their cars and whatnot, basically saying that, no, he would have been against you and blah, blah, blah. So again, this is just another example of essentially a guy in Hollywood in the bubble who hates the fact that, the unmentionables are fans of a character that is quite literally a caricature of them, right? I mean, Ron Swanson is basically a right-wing libertarian to like an absurd comedic level. That's basically like what he is. Like, he's the guy who says absurd things to say absurd things. It's almost the absurdist approach to a libertarian. That's what the whole genesis of his character is that he hates the government, and there's a lot of people out there who also hate the government, so they see themselves in him. That's all that it really is, but of course, these people in the bubble just don't get it. We're going to start with our buddy Eddie, who I totally was not referring to when I said that he was a scumbag. But what is your thoughts on the Ron Swanson, Nick Offerman dilemma here?
I think it's kind of ridiculous to believe that Rick, or what's his name, Nick Swanson?
Yeah. Or Nick Offerman.
Nick Offerman.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of ridiculous to believe that this guy really believes that this character exists. Like, I'm always annoyed. But it's like, what's her name? The Cynthia girl from Wicked. This is how the Wicked Witch of the West would be like if she was in real life. It's like, what are you talking about? I'm pretty sure that the reason why, if I remember right, didn't Rob or Rick or whatever his name was go to the gay wedding because there was bacon at the wedding? Like, it's always something about bacon or meat or some sort of pro-America thing that this guy just shows up and does some sort of caricature with. Mm-hmm. I feel sad that this guy hates his character so much that he has to lash out against the fans who literally live through the character, which fans are allowed to do. And I mean, one of the writers of this show was what's his name? I can't remember. I want to say it's John Beatty, but I could be wrong on that. But one of the writers is a writer for King of the Hill. One of the writers is one of the writers who created Dale Gribble, the outlined conspiracy theorist that everyone fucking identifies with every time they watch the show.
Pocket sand.
Right. So, hey-ya, squirrel tactics. So, like, I find it annoying that these guys really believe that these characters exist and what they would really believe if they existed and everything. Dude, it's a character. Calm the fuck down about it. Let people have fun with it. And if somebody's throwing away a gay pride because your character would have done it, go with it. Why not? I mean, it just adds to the fun of the character.
I kind of find this whole thing interesting because I've watched Parks and Rec. I've watched it many times. It kind of gets worse the longer it goes on. Like past season 3, and where characters change, like Ron, into from this kind of staunch libertarian as someone that's more or less kind of coming out of his shell, if only to kind of like stay around his friends. That's, literally a storyline in the final season when him and Amy Poehler's character kind of butt heads. But this whole thing's really funny because it's just like Ron Swanson's the most popular character. He's the most popular character because he is the most outspoken against, resources going to the government, and people basically needing to be self-sufficient and not be reliant on government services, and like it's done pretty funny in a funny way, but like his character is given room to like voice his opinion, and like it's like he's right about almost everything he says. And again, it's entertaining, it's funny, whatever. This whole thing where you try to control the narrative around a character when people are fucking doing memes, they're making jokes online, you know what I mean, about whatever, a scene from the show where he's paranoid about being spied on by the government, so he thinks throwing away the desktop computer is going to get rid of his Google Maps address, knowing where he lives. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we're talking about here. It's okay. And so the actor Nick Offerman, the guy who didn't create the character, simply the guy who plays him, got upset about a meme and decided to take it literally, which is always a mistake. It's almost always a mistake to get angry at a joke someone makes online and then take it earnestly, take it seriously. It didn't change anything.
It is not like the joke was Nick Offerman throws a LGBTQ flag into the trash can. No, it was the character of Ron Swanson. Like, again, these people can't separate fiction from reality. So you're upset that somebody used a character that you played on television to essentially make an online meme.
But it's like, what laws, like what rights are being threatened? How are you being threatened by this? How are you, you know what I mean? And it's like, and I get it. Like he feels like he has to be an outspoken supporter. It was during Pride Month. All of this feels calculated. All of it feels performative. And that's the thing. It's like, if you have a cause, if you have a reason that you're pushing for something, a piece of legislation, I at least respect that because it's based on something substance-based. It's something that you can point to and say, this is what I'm for or whatever. But instead it's just these empty, performative tactics that don't move the needle and just alienate people to whatever you were trying to communicate in the first place, which is just seemingly he was angry about a meme. So here we are.
Apparently Nick's been married to Megan Mullally for 22 years, I think, up to this point, which honestly explains a lot. Like, you could have led with that and be like, oh, now I get it. And then now I get it. But
I mean, maybe it's just two people that are right for each other, but she's always seemed like nails on a chalkboard, personality-wise, voice-wise, but whatever. Hey, whatever. It takes all kinds or something.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, the guys in the Hollywood bubble, I'm pretty sure they're all very angry at anyone in their circle who they think is trying to link anything that they've done with Donald Trump at this point, because, like I said, we'll get to him later on here in this show. He'll be our closer. There's a lot of people that are pretty upset. And it's not just, left-wing people, but it's been primarily left-wing people for, the last decade. And when it comes to essentially, it's not just, them going after a certain portrayal of a character. It's just them lashing out on anyone who is essentially a fan of this character, which means that you're essentially lashing out on the fan base because this fan base isn't exactly along the lines of your political ideology. And we talked about here last year with the Joker movie, right? There was a Joker 2 was essentially a movie that they intentionally torpedoed. They intentionally torpedoed and missiled that movie because the wrong people like the Joker. Those people made it $1 billion movie and made it $1 billion film, and they came out a couple years later to intentionally shit all over that character because the wrong people like it. This is the mentality of Hollywood. You wonder why there's so much struggle to sell tickets and sell movies these days, because at the time period that we are here in 2025, most of the country knows and realizes now that Hollywood hates the overwhelming majority of this nation. Outside of the big coastal, locations of New York and LA, maybe sprinkle Chicago and Austin in there as well, but they hate the overwhelming majority of the country. That wasn't as widely known 10 years ago, 15 years ago, but it's known now. So they have nothing but contempt for anyone who's not in their little circle, and as a return, the people have nothing but contempt for them too. And this is why we're so fractured as a society at this point, is because of stuff like this. And so, yeah, I'm not surprised at this point. And like I said, Leslie put it perfectly, childish mentality is exactly what it is, but this is where we're at.
Yep.
So,
what's strange though?
Oh, so go ahead.
What's strange is that I don't know where this happened, because I just watched a little clip of Carol O'Connor, Archie Bunker, right? Mm-hmm. And Archie Bunker is the Republican of Republicans when it comes to television, right?
Yeah.
And Carol O'Connor is a soft-spoken liberal man, and they asked him about conservatism, right? Like Arbor Day and things like that with forestry. And Carol O'Connor gave a very Carol O'Connor answer. And then they said, what would Archie say about this? And he literally just switches characters and go, oh, you mean the trees there? Oh, we got to build the houses and we got to do it. And he started giving an Archie answer.
Yeah.
And so he understood that there's a character and there's a real person, and the real person has actual opinions, and the character can have their own opinions, but that doesn't mean that it's based on him. Another example of that is Al Bundy. You would think Al Bundy voted for Trump. With the way Al Bundy talks and the way Al Bundy thinks and the way Al Bundy treats his family, this guy, liberal-wise, he voted for Trump. Ed O'Neill hates Trump with a passion, doesn't like him very much, everything. But how is it that I can take that character, Al Bundy, and he understands this too, Ed O'Neill, I can take that character, Al Bundy, and say, yeah, I can see Trump, I can see this guy voting for Trump, as opposed to Ed O'Neill. And Ed O'Neill doesn't deny it. He's like, yeah, he doesn't believe Al Bundy would vote for Trump, but he also, like, I can see why people would think that. So it's like a really weird thing. All these actors trying to personify their characters, like they think they're going to get residuals or they're going to get, something for this, their legacy or whatever. I don't know. It's just, I don't know where this chat happened.
I think part of that is, like I said, at that time period, you're talking about like 70s and 80s, and this was at a time period where Hollywood's bread and butter was its own domestic audience. Like, they made movies and shows for Americans, right? And I think where the switch happened was towards the late 2000s. Hollywood made a financial decision that, hey, look, there's a lot of people over there in China, and they got a lot of money. If we start marketing films towards the Chinese market, we can essentially get a whole bunch of money for them. That way we don't have to rely on their own domestic market as much. So the money that they were getting from the international box office told them, it's like, hey, look, we don't have to be as nice to our political opponents here in the United States anymore, because now we got Chinese money, now we got Saudi money, now we got Korean money. The only problem is that over the last 5-6 years, that Chinese money dried up. And the Saudi investment hasn't come through the way that they hope that it has. So now they're in this position where not only are they not getting the international bucks to even out stuff anymore, but like I said, now everyone knows that they hate them, and a lot of people hate them as a result of that as well. So it's just completely busted the entire market here in the United States because they made a bet on an international market. It worked for a few years. They got a lot of money from China in the late 2000s, early 2010s, and then it soon blew up in their face. And now here we are here, divided America, and it's had a disastrous effect on Hollywood as a result.
Yep. Don't disagree with that. It all stems from these guys being too old to understand what a meme is. That's the thing. It really comes from that. They just don't understand what a meme is. They don't understand how media gets transformed. They don't understand it. They recorded Nick Offerman, and Nick Offerman as Ron Swanson is not the guy that the memes represent, because in Nick Offerman's mind, that's him 1-to-1. And same thing with all these other actors that want to be like bringing up how their character would feel. Like Sonic would vote for Trump, Sonic wouldn't vote for Trump. That kind of stupid shit. Yeah. It's this attitude where we have to let totems speak for us because our own voice alone is not good enough. And this is why these guys come through and have to explain the meme, because they don't understand how ideas get transformed. They just don't understand. Like, Al Bundy was a character from the 80s. What does he have to do with Trump today? So he's got to come out, trot out all these explanations, blah, 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 blah. You got to have Nick Offerman come out with all these explanations because they just don't understand a meme.
Exactly. Like, imagine going out there and trying to make the argument that Al Bundy would never support Donald Trump because the way that he treats women. It's like, really, Al Bundy would be offended by his treatment of women? Have you seen some of the early episodes of Married with Children?
That's what I'm saying.
It's like you want to die on.
Again, it's one of these things where these guys just don't understand a meme. They don't understand how an idea can be transformed.
Yeah. And like I said, it's all bubble stuff. A lot of these people, and like Rob says all the time, like, actors are not bright. A lot of them are very, very stupid. Like, they just get paid to play a role, and for some reason, they've been in a bubble for quite some time. They actually think that they're smart and have like intellect and insight on political issues that is way over their depth, and so because they're celebrities, they're more willing to put a microphone in their face. Here, tell us your opinions about this, and then they sound like idiots. So. Yep, that's just the way that it is there. Any final words on this one before we move over to our next one?
Gay.
Right. So here is something that is very, very interesting. This is kind of the first of kind of three major discussions we can break into here. There was a post that went super viral this weekend, and I mean like super viral. It has like 251,000 likes, blew up all over the internet, right? Now, obviously, the context of, what happened was Superman. We'll talk about Superman later on tonight, but this is about the movie Sinners. Now, Sinners is a movie that has been, my best estimation, astroturf and gaslit to hell, because essentially everyone is going around telling you that this is the greatest movie of like the 2020s. This is going to dominate Academy Awards. Everyone's just raving and ranting about how great of a movie Sinners is. And I'm gonna be very honest. I saw Sinners. I was not impressed. I didn't say that it was a terrible film, but the whole supernatural element of the film to me didn't work at all. It would have been a fine, much better film had it not been there at all, and they just went straight forward with it. But trying to mix the two things didn't make any sense. Now, when I saw the movie, there was a few things that I think you can explicitly say were anti-Christian, but they were very subtle in its approach there, and it was a movie that had so many other problems. I didn't really give much credence to it. However, there are people who have picked up these things. Now we have a big, long discussion about this. There is a YouTube user called Uncle Runk, that's in junk, but Uncle Runk. He made a thread on Twitter that went super viral. Everyone's been talking about it. And here's the thing. I know that this guy probably is not, a textbook Christian, quote unquote, and I'm using quote unquote very, very strongly there. But the things that he is saying about this film is objectively not false. So one of them followed this train of thought here, because this is something that I noticed watching this movie too. This was his initial post. He said, if y'all are mad about Superman, wait until you find out that Sinners is about how black people shouldn't be Christian. Now, a lot of people said this is like, oh, you're just making things up. You're running with things that aren't there. He's actually not. Now, I'm not saying that I agree with his conclusion to this premise, but the things that he's pointing out here are objectively true. Here's kind of his thread and his lane thought here. Sinners uses vampires to show the parasitic and cultural destructive nature of white religion on black diaspora, and it says that it acknowledges Christianity as a tool of hope, but poses it as a ultimately fruitless, right? In the same way that Christ did not save our characters from racism, endured servitude, and Jim Crow, it does not save them from otherworldly evil as well. They go on to as far to mock the Lord's Prayer, which they did, implying that he once thought that Christ could save him too. The film ends with Samuel ultimately rejecting Christianity as a result to choose his life as a blues musician, free of any opposition from any inherent religion designed by white people to be forced into black people, right? So basically saying that he rejected white religion that was forced on the black people. Now, again, not saying I agree with his conclusion here, but we'll get to that here in a second. It says you don't have to agree with it, but that is what the film is very openly about. Imperialism's destructive effects on black and African culture, the way that our ancestors' religion, culture, and names were stripped from them and replaced with the beliefs and customs of their oppressors. I've decided to, anyone who says I'm making it up, I'm going to respond with direct quotes from the film to directly state this thesis. Also, if you believe that the European slavers that were forced a religion upon us were practicing traditional Ethiopian Christianity, you may just be an idiot. For those who people did not see as human, right? So he goes on another kind of like rant here as well. He also talks about the KKK being quote unquote a Christian institution as well. So this is the whole premise of this thing. Ryan Coogler made a movie that was very much I guess you say blatantly anti-Christian in a lot of ways. He was also promoting elements of African paganism and African spiritualism. Voodoo is obviously a big influence in this movie too. I think Rob's probably the only one who's actually seen this film, right? So it's just me and you here.
I guess, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I have. Yeah.
We'll dig deeper into this here in a second. But this is the notion here, and a lot of people seem to back up this notion because look at how many likes and retweets this thing got here. So there is something to this. Now let's kind of unpack all this in a bigger picture here. What you have to understand is that especially with the black community in 2025. There are people out there, and it's a much larger portion that anyone is willing to admit, who are so pro-black they will reject anything that is deemed or appears to be white, even if it's Christianity itself, right? So there are a lot of people who push the notion in the narrative that Christianity is a quote unquote white man's religion. Now, anyone who knows the true history of Christianity knows that that is absurdly false. So absurdly false, it's not even worth arguing, right? Because we're talking about a religion that originally came from Jewish people. Now, there are some black people out there who believe that they were the real Jews and that they were the real Egyptians and they were the real Rome and all this nonsense, right? It's all a bunch of gobbledygook and things. But this is what they believe. So this is the premise that they're running with here. Now, in the film, like I said, the characters are very, very explicitly anti-Christian. There's obviously references there to the, I guess you could call them demonic, vampiric characters, basically showing that, any reference towards God or Christ has no effect on them, as somehow to portray that evil is far more powerful than the tool of religion, which again is nonsense, but this is what they believe here. And you also have to keep it noted with this here too. The people who are responsible for this film, the creative minds here, they are also not Christian, but they are spiritually of another religion. I'm gonna play a quick little video here from Isaiah Robin. I might not play the whole thing because it's 3 minutes, but I will play kind of the important parts to this discussion here, because it talks about the religion of Michael B. Jordan, who is the star in the movie. He plays two characters here. Now, some people, and this is what I tell people all the time, there's a lot of people out there who, when they hear a celebrity talk about quote unquote God, they just assume, oh, that person is a Christian. That person believes in Jesus. It's like, no. When that person says that they believe in God or quote unquote a God, that does not mean that they believe in the God of the Bible. Here's the little information here about Michael B. Jordan's true religion based on what he said leading up to the promotion of this movie, which I found very, very interesting.
So how many of you know what religion Michael B. Jordan is from? Well, I can tell you this. If you don't know, you're about to be shocked. Check out this clip.
Michael B. Jordan, the B stands for Bakari, which means of noble promise.
Correct. You know your stuff.
All right. Who gave you that name, and how do you think it shaped the man you are today?
I'm a Babalawo, and my mom, when I was born. Did you hear what he just said? He said, I'm a Babalawo. Let me play it one more time for you.
And how do you think it shaped the man you are today?
I'm a Babalawo, and he said he's a Babalawo. Now let's see what that is. A Babalawo is a priest, diviner in the Ifa religion. Let's read more into it, shall we? The Ifa religion, the primary
Oh, it gets nuttier from here.
He worshipped is Aludumare. Aludumare is the supreme creator god within the Ifa pantheon. Arun Mila, the prophet and messenger of Aludumare, is also revered. Additionally, various Orishas, deities, are worshipped. So like Oshun, the one that Beyonce and Kehlani and all them worship, they're part of the Ifa religion as well. Each representing different aspects of nature, life, and the spiritual realm.
So essentially, it's African paganism. That's what it comes down to. And this is what you see here. And I talked about this in my Gnosticism series a few weeks back. Every time someone wants to reject the biblical narrative and biblical truth, they always try to create a counterfeit so they can be like, okay, well, I believe in quote unquote God, but here's the quote unquote God that I believe in. This is the supreme creator that I believe in, because I reject the God of the Bible. I reject Jesus Christ, right? So as a result of that, they create essentially a false religion on top of that has a complete, I guess you could say, nonsensical origin point. But this is what quite literally influenced the movie that everyone's ranting and raving about right now being the best picture of the year. I'll play a little bit more of this.
Ishu, the trickster god and messenger, plays a significant role as the mediator between humans and the divine. So in the Ifa religion, you need Ishu to connect with God. But in the word of God, 1 Timothy 2:5, it says, for there is one God and there is one mediator between God and men, this man Christ. So for Christians, it's Christ Jesus who is the mediator to God. And in the Ifa religion, it's Ishu, the trickster god. Oh, it's trick.
By the way, trickster god, the only person that is given that title in biblical context is actually Lucifer, because Lucifer is the father of all lies. So I think figure that's an important piece of context to lay on here too.
All right. Babalaos are the workers of Ifa, an ancient divination and religious practice that involves interpreting signs to guide people in making decisions and seeking spiritual guidance. So Michael B. Jordan is a Babalao, part of the Ifa religion. Same as Beyonce, same as Kehlani, same as Summer Walker, same as 21 Savage. Many of these people, you listen to their music, they are praising their ancestors on the record. Yet you just keep listening to it, you keep dancing to it, but you are coming into agreement with what they worship. Now, what they are...
Now, and that is a very, very big portion of this film here, and I'm going to go to Rob here for a second, because there's kind of a follow-up point, which is kind of the bigger issue on race here too, but ancestor worship is not only a big thing in that religion, it's also a big key in that movie too. You know, see, remember that whole dance sequence where they're playing in the, was it the juke bar or whatever, and then all of a sudden all the African ancestor line comes to life and they're all dancing and all that stuff. It's like, that's just all part of like the same religion here. The premise of what this guy was saying, the first guy here, this Uncle Ruck, and basically the film itself, is that it's essentially teaching black people to reject Christianity and promote essentially African spirituality under the guise that somehow African Americans should be embracing this style of quote-unquote religion rather than what the Bible teaches. There are some people who even go as far to promote voodoo as the only valid form of worship for black people. So what I like to say is that this is what happens when you mix dumb and demonic, right? Because none of the premise here makes absolutely no sense, but so many people buy into it because, like I said, they just have a natural hatred of anything deemed to be white, so they would go so far to reject the creator of the universe if it deems that that creator came from quote-unquote a white man's religion. Now there's more aspects here as well, but I want to just start off with the film itself. What is your take on essentially the premise of essentially Sinners being a movie trying to reject Christianity specifically for black people, and what did you notice about the film when you saw that kind of I guess gives ode to that premise essentially?
Yeah, I think this is very interesting because you definitely have a view of this that I don't share at all, and yet we came to the same conclusion. That scene that you referenced is bar none the worst scene of the year. Why do I say that? Okay. Now, even if you say that it's well done in its execution, like they pulled off what they meant to do and therefore it's still good on a technical level or something, it's such a navel-gazing, self-important, look at our rich culture, look how wonderful this rich cultural musical tradition goes. It goes back hundreds of years or thousands of years, and it's going to go into the future, and music genres that haven't even been created, and and we've all heard the narratives. We've heard about producers stealing black artists' music and profiting off of it and not giving them a fair shake. And there's definitely some credence to that, absolutely. But the way that scene was constructed, where it almost deifies black people to the point where it's like we should be worshiping ourselves because we have this amazing and whatever, it's to me, it's just kind of self-important, narcissistic, shitty scene that like everybody treated like it was one of the greatest works of cinematic art of the last 100 years, and this is going to win all the awards, and this is a great movie. And it's a Dusk from Dawn vampire story. It takes a little bit extra time kind of building atmosphere and the environment and the people, the characters, their lives, kind of what trying to fill in the gaps there and give them more background and more detail. And still at the end of the day, it's Michael B. Jordan playing two characters, they're twins, who basically like give, they mean mug the camera. And then fucking Michael B. Jordan, the one character's girlfriend, in public talks about having her pussy eaten. Like, it's like, who takes this shit? First of all, it's fine if it's just entertaining to you. I don't know why, but like, who takes this shit seriously? Who could sit there and be like, hey, this is entertainment. Hey, you've got me on the hook. Hey, I want to see what comes next. You know what I mean? And so it's like, and I don't even understand what that's for. Is it because like black guys don't eat pussy? Is that why that's in there, Ryan Coogler? I don't know. And by stereotype, by the way, but it's just like, why is that in there? Just, I'm curious.
Know why?
Josh Allen's girlfriend. Why? So it's just like, and if it was your thing, if you watched it and you liked it, whatever, but I just thought it was a terrible movie because it didn't do anything right. It's not a good vampire movie, and it's also not a good like cultural commentary on, I don't know, the Black experience in America told through 1930s jazz clubs.
It's always 1930s, and there's another thing that I've talked about this on a previous episode of the Bible Lens. I'm going to get back to you here, but I want Cider and Eddie's take on this first. We'll start with Cider. Again, it seems like Hollywood is essentially praising yet another film that seems to be, in more ways than one, explicitly antichrist, and it seems like there's been a trend for quite some time here. Either they're praising something that's explicitly antichrist, or anytime there's any kind of quote-unquote form of Christianity being celebrated, it's always Roman Catholicism. And there seems to be no other option there, no other alternative there. It's always those two. So what have you heard about the movie Sinners, and basically just the whole idea that Christianity is the white man's religion and black people need to stay away from it, according to the Babaloo individuals over here?
I have not. That's what I have not heard this. Believe it or not. Not a lot of black Twitter makes its way up here. So
that's probably a good thing.
Yeah, well, and so I have absolutely no footing in this whatsoever. I can't even begin to tell you what a Babalooey is and what they get up to. So I can't. I know it's a pagan thing. I've never heard it until he supposedly said that. That honestly sounded like he was having a seizure halfway through that. So
yeah, and like I said, with Ryan Coogler, it is important to note this here. It's that this false African religion is exactly what's inspired a lot of quote-unquote Black Panther over the last several years. It's like when you look at these African traditions in those Marvel movies, especially the last two, a lot of that is influenced by that culture as well, right? Now, of course, they don't name it by name because everyone thinks, oh, in the context, this is all about, the character that Stan Lee created back in the 60s and superheroes and whatnot. But in order to stay quote-unquote authentic, and this is why they always get, points for quote-unquote authenticity, they have to put elements of these religions into this film so that the people who know about it see that and give it, a glowing amount of praise all over social media and film reviews and all this stuff. And this is why Ryan Coogler is being propped up as one of the greatest, directors of our generation, because of essentially the films that he's doing that are similar to this, similar to Black Panther, that all have similar themes throughout or similar threads throughout the film like this. Yeah, so it's one of those, the more you know type situations, right?
And I don't know enough, So I'm sorry. I don't mean to be that blanket here, but I really don't know anything about this whole. I don't. Black Jesus was the last time I checked in on, Christianity's too white. That's the last time I checked in on that conversation. Yeah. So.
Well, Eddie's the closest thing to a black man we have on this show. So what's your take on this whole thing?
I believe that Ryan Coogler did an amazing job. I've never seen the film, nor do I know what the context of it is, but it has to be an amazing thing considering the fact that it uplifts black people and their religions, because their religions were taken away from them when they were stripped from them when they were brought to this country and had to be forced to listen to the white man's religion. And I'd also like to thank God Rick is here, because I'd also like to bring up the fact that Michael G. Jordan is bringing up cultural appropriation against our people, the Latinos and the Hispanics, because he's using the Babaloo. He's using the Babaloo religion, which is Ricky Ricardo's.
That's right. And then his theme. That's his big theme.
So Babaloo is actually
Baba Booey.
That's another one that they took from us. So
watch an episode of I Love Lucy where he's at the club Tropicana, and he'll be singing Babaloo.
See, we even know how to pronounce it correctly, unlike Michael B. Jordan. So
arriba con la coca, arriba con la coca.
Hey, so Eddie, just really quick, how did those people get over here?
How did they get over here? They swam.
I wonder. No.
They swam.
Who sold them? I'm just curious.
It wasn't white people, though. It wasn't white people who sold them. It was the kind of people that we like to pretend weren't black.
According to the Woman King, it was the Portuguese who did it.
Right.
So.
Those Laji Portuguese. That's why
they were brought to Cuba, and then from Cuba they mixed the religions.
I like to also when they bring up the Roman Catholic Church a lot in Hollywood because it's the only equivalent like, because look, you're dealing with voodoo, and you're dealing with Chinese mysticism, and you're dealing with Japanese samurai religions. And come on, Roman Catholicism is the closest thing to like a Gundam or like an actual big kind of thing that Christianity actually has. So of course they're going to use Roman Catholicism for it.
Yeah, ask Sydney Sweeney. Before we get to Rick here, I want to play this here because Rick, you're the one who brought all of this to our attention. So technically, this is your fault. I want to play this video here because, like I said, when this guy started getting heat from some people about, oh, you're reading too much into it, you're seeing things that aren't there. This was his response.
Is this Uncle Ruck?
Yeah,
this half breed.
Yeah. Ooh, no, we're gonna get into it. I swear.
Hey, time out. Pause. What y'all say fuck me for? Like, why y'all acting like I wrote the movie? I didn't write the movie. I'm just pointing out that there are multiple points in the film. At one point, a character looks directly into the camera and they say, hey, you, the black viewer, you have been lied to by white people. That religion was forced upon you. I didn't say any of that. I didn't make, go talk to Ryan Coogler, bruh. Y'all in the comments talking about something. I rebuke you. Go rebuke him. You don't gotta rebuke me. I'm chilling. I didn't do shit.
So I will say this. So here's kind of
I like him a lot.
That is not necessarily true. He did. He's the one that was saying, Superman was bad. Yeah, just look at Sinners.
Mm-hmm. But like I said, the point is that the context that's in the movie Sinners all coming from Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan and all the other Babaluii people out there. But here's the thing. And now that we had this conversation, I go back and I find it very, very interesting that this film is set in the 1930s. Because obviously in one aspect, you can look at it from, whenever they try to evoke, racial tension between black and whites, let's go find some period between the 30s and the 60s so we can struggle up. Oh, see, this is how racist America used to be. This is how they they do that all the time here, right? There's actually something in greater significance here. I did an episode of the Bible Ends way, way back ago. It's almost 2 years ago. Go back and check it out on the playlist. It was talking about the 5% Nation of Islam, and this was at the time period where the Book of Clarence was coming out, and Rick knows all about the Book of Clarence because I forced him to watch that movie too. And in the context of that, I was talking about the origin of the Nation of Islam that later gave birth to the 5% Nation of Islam. Now, for those of you guys who don't know, the Nation of Islam was created in the 1930s by a guy called Elijah Muhammad. And Elijah Muhammad was essentially the guy that kind of started this whole, I guess you can say, movement that, black people need to stop, following Christianity. That's the religion of the white man. That's the religion of the colonizer and the oppressor, blah, 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 yada, yada. And you know what's better for black people? Islam. That was the premise of the Nation of Islam. I'm not making this up. We went about this in detail here, right? And the Nation of Islam in the 1930s was essentially a rebuke against essentially that at that time period, like I said, within the black churches in America, especially in the South, Christianity was a very, very strong aspect of, society at that time period, but they wanted to, quote unquote, break black people away from Christianity by giving them another alternative. So they created the Nation of Islam, which isn't even really Islam in the Islamic context. Is even actual Muslims, like real Muslims, rebuke them because they essentially try to make Nation of Islam for one race. They don't want white people to be a part of it, and Islam has a mindset of essentially conquering the entire world, and that they're going to need to conquer white people too. So that's kind of their conflict point. But then about 30 years after that, you had essentially the schism within the Nation of Islam where certain radicals in that group looked at Elijah Muhammad, who some can argue was probably another half-breed, let's just call it that way. And as a result, they thought that he was too white to be Allah, because that was also the belief at the time period that Elijah Muhammad was Allah. So they decided that because he's too white looking, that they were going to make an offshoot called the 5% Nation that created the narrative that the black man is God and that the the black woman is Earth. And they made a whole insane culture religion that, of course, has been embraced by all kinds of New York rappers, from Jay-Z, the Busta Rhymes, to Lord Jamal, and all these people calling themselves Lord and gods because they think in their mind, according to their quote-unquote religion, that they're God. What does all this have to do with it? is that there has been a concerted effort in this country for the last 100 years to essentially separate black people from Christianity. And there's been a multitude of false religions that have popped up in the last 100 years specifically to do that. Now, some people will shift to the Nation of Islam. That's why you see those people in suits and bow ties, because they're in that subsect of the cult. Now you have these African paganists who think that they have to, follow the ancient paganism of their ancestors in order to be close to Christianity. One guy did, I think it was this guy here, was talking about that, well, actually Christianity started in Ethiopia. That's not true. That's objectively not true. People constantly think that because one of the oldest churches is in Ethiopia, that's where Christianity started. That's again objectively not true. You can even go back to read the ancient art of not the ancient art, but the ancient history of the church, when it got built in Jerusalem, how it spread to several nations, how they spread it to. What were you gonna say, Cider?
I was gonna say, like, even the oldest McDonald's isn't the first McDonald's.
Exactly right. If you've seen what was that movie, that McDonald's movie that came out,
The Founder.
The Founder, yeah. If you've seen The Founder, you know that to be true here too. But like I said, people take that and then they run with it because they think, oh well, this Ethiopian Bible has the Ethiopian Bible has the Apocrypha. That should tell you that there's something not right here. That's a whole other conversation. However, like I said, and this has been ramped up more and more over the last couple of years with the introduction of Black Lives Matter, with the introduction of basically racial division in the United States of America, trying to separate more and more blacks and whites, where we have to oppose absolutely everything. And I said this in another episode of The Bible Lens, is black culture demonic, and I talked about this in more detail. It's like, look, there are going to be people out there who are so driven by racial hatred and anything seeming that is being, racial hatred and everything that seems to be. The Rachel Dolezal, Miss Rachel, they're all bad. But there's so many people in that mindset that they're going to separate themselves for anything that deems to be white, because in their mind they've accepted this false narrative that Christianity is a white man's religion. They're literally going to reject Christ on the guise of, well, that's the white Christ, that's not the real Christ, right? Whatever the case is. And they've literally created their own gobbledygook religion that is, I break it to you, spoiler alert, is only going to lead you one place, and it's not salvation. That's basically what it is. But this whole context and this whole conversation here is another example of a century-long spiritual war against black people. And I hate to break this to you, the source of it is not the white man. This is poison that has been coming from your own community for, like I said, at least over 100 years at this point, and it's only being popularized in what is called quote-unquote culture. So again, the next time you hear Beyonce or Jay-Z or Michael B. Jordan make a reference to God and you just assume that God is Jesus Christ, actually inquire. But please inquire, because they're not talking about the God of the Bible. They're talking about their own personal pagan God that they pray to. By the way, God is not a woman. So if anyone says I'm praying to Mother God, that's a major red flag. Just throwing that out here there. So I can honestly
surprised. I mean, we saw this in Malcolm X, where the brother minister said the same thing, that it was a white man's religion, and we couldn't believe that. It was just strange.
And like I said, that originated from the Nation of Islam. Where do you think Malcolm X got it from? That was the religion that he was a part of.
Yeah, it came from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who came up with this very well. I don't think he was the founder. I think he was a successor to the founder of the Nation of Islam.
No, it was Elijah Muhammad was the founder. Who's the guy who's been running it for the last several years?
It's not Louis Farrakhan. He dropped Nick.
Yeah, he just died.
Yeah, he's gone. He's gone.
No. But I think Elijah Muhammad was the second successor. And for the record, Muslims don't accept the Nation of Islam because, among other things, they don't have their sacred text in Arabic. My understanding is that the Quran is only holy in Arabic. If it's in any other language, it's like any other book, which then makes it strange that people get upset when they burn Qurans if it's not in Arabic. It's in English, French, Italian.
Yeah, it's like.
By the way, So glad you mentioned. So glad you mentioned that there. Quick little correction. Elijah Muhammad is in fact the second guy. The guy I was thinking of is Wallace Farad Muhammad, who's the one who actually originated the Nation of Islam. He's a guy who just so happens 1934 completely disappeared and no one ever figured out what happened to him afterwards. But he was a guy who came from Detroit, moved over to I think New York later on in his life, and like I said, he's the one who started the movement of the Nation of Islam that continues to this very day. So Malcolm X and Clarence.
Well, probably the guy who founded the Nation of Islam. He probably got up on that magical donkey that flew Muhammad over Jerusalem after Muhammad died.
Yeah,
so he's probably on that same donkey or horse that flew him over Detroit.
If you watch Boardwalk Empire, the character Narcissus is like a half personality of that guy, the one that
Jeffrey Wright. Yeah, the guy Jeffrey Wright plays him. Yeah. I love that show, by the way. I'm watching it right now. So
if you want to have if you want to have like a context to it, it's like half of his personality. Because he does the same kind of thing where he like tries to use I don't know if it's specifically Islam or whatever, but uses that same kind of a Svengali kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. What about Yakub? Where does Yakub stand in all of this?
Eddie, I was literally just about to mention that next. If you guys know the origin story of Yakub, who is apparently the God creator black man, who I guess he was the original black man, and that the white people were devils created by the mad scientist Yakub via eugenics, and then things went wrong, and then white people became the oppressor for a period of time. But don't worry, guys. In the end times, black people are going to uprise against white people and retake their place as the rulers of the world. So you guys notice
it's literally black Scientology.
Black Scientology mixed with a little bit of Revelation. You ever notice that all of these like false religions steal things from the Bible? That's so blatant that they're stealing it from the Bible, yet they're all saying that, oh no, don't trust the Bible, it's not true. It's all fabricated, but here's our eschatology, and it's literally just completely ripped off from the Bible.
That's a wild story.
Yeah,
wild story.
I'm only scratching the surface when it comes to these black separatist, black cultist, black pagan occult organizations. Like, there's so many that I can name. We can literally do a 2-hour show about all of them.
They all could have been doctors. All those people that created this stuff all could have been doctors.
Yeah, which doctors?
Jacob said it. You said it. Not me, not Rob, not Rick, not Eddie. Jacob said it.
A spin doctor, because they could be DJs.
Little Miss can't be wrong.
So yeah, that's a whole thing that's going on. So like I said, Sinners, a movie I would probably stay away from. One, because it's objectively a shitty movie, and then two, it also has a lot of these elements in it too. So you're better off just avoiding this one altogether. But any final thoughts regarding this film here before we jump over to our next conversation?
Well, I haven't seen it, and I'm not going to see it unless it gets those 28 Oscar nominations that everyone is predicting for it. Mm-hmm. So it'll topple Titanic for the most Oscar nominations. I've been assured of this by many people.
Well, it does check all the boxes that are now prerequisites for getting an Oscar now. So,
I just want to say that, like, all the people, because this movie basically got shoved down everybody's throat if you were on film Twitter for like the first half of the year, and so, but if people being like, Jack O'Connell actually gave it like the only good performance in the movie is the lead vampire guy. People are like, I can't believe that this fresh face. I'm like, the guy's been acting for over a decade, you fucking assholes. Yeah. So I mean, that's the other thing too, is movies like this just bring people out of the woodwork who, they just want to be part of the, the popular moment, and that's fine.
Zeitgeist.
It's a shitty movie ultimately. So that's all I have to say about that.
But by the way, I went on this whole tangent. I didn't even mention the Black Hebrew Israelites. That's a whole other rabbit hole you can go into for several hours. Like, there's a lot of
at the Bible Lens podcast for another day.
There's a lot of dumb, demonic, black separatist cults out there. More than there should be, but there's a lot of them. Oh, anyway, movie time.
Dear Josh, we came by to fuck you, but you were not home. Therefore, you are gay.
I want you to be nice until it's time to not be nice.
Get in, loser. We're going shopping.
I don't know where to start. I'll take that one like yes, she got it.
I transferred from Los Angeles. Your school has no gymnastics team. This is a last resort. I got paid in puke. Lick it up, baby. Lick it.
Broke into the wrong goddamn rec room, didn't you, you bastard?
What do you mean, you people? What do you mean, you people? I'm only trying to turn you into a lady. The lady should be modeled.
So for those wondering, that was the intro for the show Movie House. I was supposed to start this year, but then as we were in production of getting that show off the ground, my life slowly fell apart, and it's just kind of been in limbo for the last several months. So maybe I'll get back to that one here. We'll figure that out here later. But yeah, let's go ahead and talk about. There's a reason. There's a reason. So there was this guy called Harvey Weinstein, right? He went to jail. I'll get into it later. We're going to talk about it right now. Superman. Superman is a movie that is out right now. I guess it's moderately successful because I keep hearing mixed things about how it's doing overseas. So I don't know how big of a success this film's going to be when it's all said and done. But it's a successful film at the moment, right? This is James Gunn's baby. Oh, this is all James Gunn. He's the writer. He's the director. Now, let me just go ahead and address this right off the bat here, because I already know there's going to be people who's going to come on here and they're going to start making comments about Zack Snyder and the Snyderverse and James Gunn. Let me be very, very clear here. They're both hacks. James Gunn and Zack Snyder are both hack frauds. So we don't have to sit here and waste any time about who's better and whose movies were better. They both stink. So can we get that completely out of the way here? Is everyone in agreement there?
I don't know. I was told that this movie is better than even the Richard Donner 1978 version. So obviously you're wrong.
Again, hack frauds. Everyone's just a hack fraud. But the movie came out. I saw the movie. Rob saw the movie. Rick, I'm not sure if you saw it. I don't think you did,
saw the
right?
movie. Yes.
Let's see. You saw it. Okay, so there are a few people here. Eddie and Insider can be kind of our audience / confused insiders as we talk about this film here. So here's the thing. This movie came out, and it is a typical James Gunn movie, and this is kind of what I was afraid of, because one, in case you guys haven't figured it out, I'm not a big fan of James Gunn for a multitude of reasons, but I don't like his style of comedy in movies, and his style of comedy tends to overshadow his overall narrative in films, and I figured that with this movie, this is a movie that can only succeed unless he managed to dial himself back a little bit. That did not happen in this film at all. This is very much a James Gunn movie featuring Superman. Superman feels like a secondary character in his own film at times. Now, I understand the reason for that is because they're trying to use this movie to leverage essentially a multitude of new characters and television projects that you're going to be seeing on HBO Max in the next 2 years. So it's like, we have to feature the Green Lanterns and Hawk Girl, and Mr. Terrific is going to get his own movie sometime in the future, and all these other nonsensical characters that I don't think we really needed in the context of this. And then not only that, a lot of the characters in here, and I'm surprised that so many people are like, oh no, this is a comic book accurate story of Super. Is it though? Is it really a comic book accurate portrayal of Superman? Because a lot of these characters here are aggressively unlikable. And I mean, perfect example of this is this scene right here. Obviously the girl on the right here, I can't remember the actress's name. It's what is it?
Rachel
Brosnahan. Yeah, she's playing Lois Lane in the film, and she is a very, very unlikable Lois Lane, and this scene is a perfect example of that. They're having dinner, and then she asks, quote-unquote, Superman for an interview, right? And in the context of the scene, she is just a complete unlikable uber bitch, and there's no other way of sugarcoating it, right? But the way that they think that they're portraying it, and this is what I mean about people in Hollywood living in a bubble, because in their mind they think that, oh no, she's just portraying a hard-nosed journalist who's just trying to get to the truth, right? Because she's gonna ask the tough questions like real journalists do. So we still have like this 1960s view of like of journalists and newspapers is how, oh, they're just the truth tellers, guys, and all this other stuff. They don't understand that the way that she went after Superman in this scene did not make her look like a real hardened journalist. It made her come off like an unlikable bitch. And we're supposed to essentially endear ourselves to Lois's character because she is basically Superman's muse. She's kind of the reason why he does a lot what he does, because of his ties and his love for Lois Lane. And early on in the film, you didn't feel that connection, that chemistry, like at all. Now, they slowly kind of patch things up as, you know, the film progresses, but this was kind of the introduction. And I think that this was a big mistake right out of the gate. Rob, what was your take on this scene? Because this scene has divided a lot of people in the fandom right now.
Yeah, I forget what the specific line was, but, you know, she basically said something, you know, and how people do when they're upset, but basically like, you know, we should have never started dating. You know, I told you I'm not good at relationships. And in that moment in the theater, I literally yelled out, "Yeah, because you say shit like that." It was not a good like moment for you to like try to be. You're trying to create a reason to care about these characters. And Lois, it's like, why do we care about Lois? Is she good at her job? Is she tenacious? Does she have a heart that's below that professional, you know, outer demeanor, which is why, you know, Clark or Superman falls in love with her. We don't really get any of that because they're already in a relationship. We don't really get any kind of groundwork to build that, to build those characters up. Not to mention that this is a really piss poor way of introducing the character to an audience. I mean, this is Lois Lane. This is I mean, I'm not going to say she was the original damsel in distress, but certainly in the comic book, she's a very classic example of that. Even if she's capable, she still sometimes she still needs to be saved. And we didn't really get any of that. I mean, this scene is more, it should show their chemistry. It should show playfulness. It should show things that come out in a relationship. You can, like, when you are out with a couple, you can tell why they're together, that they're, you know what I mean? That infatuation, if you want to call it that. But it's like, there's really none of that in this scene. I think they try to get there, but it largely is kind of dead on arrival. But then, you know, if I go by Twitter, this is an amazing couple. This is an amazing Lois Lane. This is an amazing
definitive. I've heard that she has been called the definitive Lois Lane.
And not only that, the one word that I keep hearing too is relatable. And I was like, I don't think you want to find this character relatable, because that says a lot more about you than her.
And look, Rachel Brosnahan is a good actress. I'll say good. She's a good actress. Yeah. I don't think she was given much to work with here. There really isn't much to the character even. Like, this is a 2-hour movie. we really never kind of get to who she is or what drives her, what she's passionate about, other than like being a bitchy reporter, you know. So it's, you know, that was my impression. Certainly, it obviously could be seen differently, but there just wasn't a whole lot to celebrate with the character here.
Yeah, so like I said, she was just a very, very off-putting character, and this has been a big problem with Hollywood over the last 5 years as well. Who here actually watched the film Not Okay? Was it just me who saw that movie? Did anyone else
didn't
recall?
you make us watch it?
Yeah, I think I think I did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Made Rob and me watch
I mean,
it.
the girl who lies about the terrorist attack.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
there's been a big problem in Hollywood over the last couple of years about unlikable female protagonists by presenting a character that they think is likable but is actually not, and it's because they're unwilling to essentially tell people or just explain how unlikable some modern women can be. So they try to essentially model Lois Lane in this film to the modern woman. I think that's probably the reason why she's not nearly as likable in reality as she should be. We'll talk about this in greater detail when we get to Supergirl here, because that's another one that I want to pick up here. But and somebody brought up a great point about this whole thing. I think it might have been not Jeremy from Geeks and Garrity. Who's the other film reviewing Jeremy? I can't remember his last name, but we'll get to him here in a second. He brought up like the scene where essentially they're fighting crime in the background. Like there's this giant, like, you know, mutant imp that's this giant eyeball that's destroying the city, and the quote unquote Justice Friends, whatever their stupid name was, they're fighting. Justice Gang. They're fighting in the background while Superman's like moping around, being all, you know, oh, woe is me, you know, everyone realizes that my parents are a dick, and they wanted me to essentially, you know, knock up everyone on the planet and rule with an iron fist. By the way, that's the actual thing that happened. That was not a markup. There's a scene in the film where Superman is getting a message from his parents. This is nice, heartwarming message, and then all of a sudden the thing cuts off, right? Because it was damaged in the crash, quote unquote. Well, then they decoded that message, and it was basically yeah, right. But then it was basically essentially telling them that, hey, look, Superman, here's what we want you to do: go to that human planet, knock up a bunch of their women, and rule them, and live on for the Kryptonian race. And it wasn't like one of those things where it's like, okay, Lex Luthor clearly doctored this, and that this is all his fault, that he was basically trying to make Superman look bad. They go out of their way to be like, nope, that was a real message. That's exactly what his parents told him.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking, is that Bradley Cooper?
Yes.
Yep. It's me.
Supposed to be Joe
Bell, the dawn, baby.
Yeah.
From the house of L to the house of hoes, got a little mission for you, son. Listen close. Yo, Cal, you my legacy, my flesh, my clone. Now go to Earth and make that planet your home. But don't just save them, breed them, feel me? Flying smooth, make them cry, oh really? You got strength of 10 men, game like Zeus. Cape in the wind in the tight blue suit. Ain't no villain that could block your aim, so why not drop seeds and lock the game? Son, this biology ain't no fluke. You a walking god, now execute. Make super babies, fill the charts. I ain't die for you to chase no heart. Smash them all, Cal, plant that name. From farm girls to queens, it's all the same. Be the daddy of Earth, the prime L spawn. Spread house of L till the break of dawn. Breed them up, Cal, breed them fast. Legacy's fire, gotta make it last. Don't fight fate, be the stud I plan. I'm watching from stars with the master hand.
Yeah, by the way, this is all real plot points for the film, and this is to me another example of Hollywood trying to make
generated.
it. Yeah,
no. But it wouldn't be okay. Here's the problem.
Good.
That is fucking. That is what that movie deserves. An AI generated like mocking hip hop video, because it's an actual part of the plot. Where that's the reason that Superman was sent. You know, where Lex Luthor and his goons like defrag the video, where it's like, oh yeah, we're sending you there so you can rule over these people and like breed a superhuman race of babies. And so, you know, it's just
go out there and just create a bunch of Nephilim and rule the world. That's basically what he was told.
At least James Gunn doesn't want his Superman to be an incel, so it's all right.
Mm-hmm.
No, but it's such a here's the problem. This movie hates Superman. This movie hates the character of Superman. This is Buzz Lightyear. This is Lightyear all over again, where it's like oh, it's James Gunn's terrible sensibility, but nowhere in this movie is there a genuine, is there a scene of like genuine hope or like, what Superman embodies and has embodied for close to 100 years. There's almost none of that in this movie, and it's just clearly distilled by that whole like Jarrell video, where it's just like there is such a lack of ideas going on, and on top of it, you're embarrassing the character. I'm not a Superman fan. I'm like a Batman fan going back, but it's like I feel so bad for people that love that character.
Is no one going to mention the fact that there is no real mystery here when it comes to Lois knowing who Superman is? I mean, right from the get-go, she tells us that, oh yeah, you're interviewing yourself when Clark keeps submitting interviews with Superman. It's like, I think that's almost as bad as this. Yeah, Kal-El's gonna knock up everyone on Earth. It's
you know what this is a parallel to, and I'm not even making this up. I literally did an episode of the Bible Lens yesterday about how Islam is basically outbreeding every nation on earth right now, and that's literally like their whole this is our they said this is our jihad. We're gonna go out there and have 6 and 7 and 8 kids and literally outbreed all the Westerners to convert into Islam. Literally, the plot point of our hero's parents is go out there and breed the race and basically overpower the humans. That's what they told him. That's what our heroes told him. And once again, it's another deconstruction of the hero basically saying that, oh, guess what? His parents weren't really as good as we all thought that they were. They were kind of dicks. And only because Superman, quote unquote, is just as human as everyone else, he overcame that. It's like, what are we doing here? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
The Superman, but
hope. There's no sense of hope or optimism. That's what the character has always been. Certainly from the 78 version, and even in some of the weaker versions, like Superman Returns, which I did not like, but at least there was that sense that he was trying. Here, no, and he's such a wimp. I'm sorry, I've never seen a wimpier Superman who gets constantly beaten up and is just basically put down by everyone. I'm sorry. They should have had Jimmy Olsen be the master breeder, because he apparently is sexual catnip to every woman in Metropolis who can't wait to shtup the Cub reporter. I'm just astonished. The Kal-El and Jor-El should have just gone after Jimmy Olsen instead and said, you'll be knocking up all the women. You can get all the hoes.
There's a reason I called my review Super Bitch, and it was because Superman in this movie is not does not embody the character whatsoever. And, I mean, he spouts platitudes, but there's nothing behind it. We don't see his heroism, and I keep saying it, but he's menopausal, he's emotional, he cries. He whines constantly.
He's punk rock.
He's Pedro Pascal.
He gets emasculated by his girlfriend.
Yeah, the worst line of the year. Maybe what was it? Maybe kindness is the new punk rock. I wanted to projectile vomit at the fucking screen. I mean, it was like, did all the victims get together and write a fucking Superman movie from the last 15 fucking years, where it's like, hey, all the wimps and whiny fucking retards
who was writing it? It was all those monkeys in the Pocket Universe that were typing out the script.
It was Mojo Jojo in the Pocket Universe. It was murdering insults to Superman.
This is the problem. I wanted to beat the shit out of Superman. Okay, I wanted to just beat the ever-loving shit out of Superman, and it's like, what is wrong with this picture? We do not give a shit about the hero. This iconic, this iconic superhero comic book character. We do not give a shit at all what comes out of his mouth and what he does. He gets the crap beaten out of him.
Repeatedly.
There's no reason to follow him, to believe in him as that heroic symbol that's going to lift humanity up. And instead it's like, no, I'm going to mope around and whine and, you know.
And
fairness,
that's
Rob,
real
in
quick
fairness,
before
he
Rick
did-
goes. Hold on, real quick before Rick goes. There's two things about that. One, yeah, he gets beat up entirely too much for a character called Superman. And keep in mind, in the context of the film, Kryptonite is only used against him once, and he still gets his ass kicked up and down the thing. And I will give one ode here to the Snyder people, and I know people are going to be rattled by that, but the whole concept of having Zod as the first villain was essentially Zod can match Superman power by power, and you didn't really get that here in this movie until they had the quote-unquote reveal at the very end about who Ultraman really was, but we'll talk about that in a bit. But Rick, go ahead with your saying.
Did they though?
I don't even remember Ultraman. I was too busy trying to focus.
He's
on
the
terrific.
he's the Stranger Things looking teenager character that Superman beats the ass off when the portal to nowhere opens up.
And then the big reveal is that he's basically Bizarro. I mean, that's essentially what. He
Really?
is.
That was what? That's Bizarro.
I lost track. I lost track.
Yeah.
I was thinking about what Rob was saying about what menopause and all that. You have to think that Superman wanted to save the Stitch when he emerges in this gigantic thing until the Justice Gang comes in and sweeps him. How he didn't want to harm him, how he didn't want his eyes poked out and zap and whatever. And I'm thinking, geez, do you really need to save the squirrel? I mean, what is this?
Yeah, it's the poor writing of James Gunn is really what it
Oh
comes
no,
down to.
it's this movie. Just seeing this seeing this woman that I had no idea who she was for the longest time. It's like, is that the sister? Is that the girlfriend? I just kept thinking,
She's annoying broad number 3 because there's multiple ones in this movie.
She is kind of a weird mix of the girlfriend from Superman 3, and part of me when she was over in the Antarctic looking for the Fortress of Solitude, part of me wanted to yell out, "Miss Tessmacher! Miss Tessmacher!" Because that's basically what it is. And by the way,
that's
the
what
way
it
that
was?
apparently, and just for the record, I think that they stole the way that he got into the Fortress of Solitude. That is an actual plot point from Superman 4. Because in Superman 4, Lex Luthor and his nephew steal a bit of Superman's hair from a museum so they could clone him, and they get they get the Nuclear Man. That's exactly what they did to break into the Fortress of Solitude. And I'm supposed to.
Here's another thing that really bothers me too, and so many stupid people are giving James Gunn a pass on this. People are like, "Oh, well, I love the portrayal of Superman's his Earth parents because they were a great portrayal of a Southern couple." First of all, Kansas is not the South. I don't know if you guys have ever actually been to the middle of the United States of America. It's the Midwest, so they don't sound like country bunkerners in Kansas. But you would actually have to go there to know how the fuck they sound like. All he did was create a caricature of a Southern couple who have low intelligence and speak like they're in the middle of Alabama, even though this is supposed to be Smallville, Kansas. And I don't know why.
We do know why Superman or Clark Kent is such a sensitive, kind of wimpy guy, because his father.
He's a crier.
Yes. So there we go.
And it's okay to cry as long as you're good looking.
Well, here's the funny thing is, they got, I don't know about the mom. That just seems like a random, Southern lady actress they threw in there. This actor who plays Jonathan Kent, his name's Pruitt Taylor Vince. He's actually been a supporting actor for 30 years. I've seen him in multiple things. He was in Deadwood. He can do a lot of different things, but again, there's not much there in the script, and there's enough there for the moment to, I guess, be nice. About Superman is about what you do. It's about your actions, what you choose. Yeah, okay, that's nice, but unfortunately, there's nothing before it that really sets it up. You meet his parents, and they're like Southern country bumpkins. They're caricatures. They're a joke. They're not, and then you want
Southern bumpkins from Kansas.
The thing is that this movie starts in medias res. It starts with him being defeated on the 3rd hour of the 3rd day of the 3rd week of the 3rd month of the 30th year.
That's for the number 3. Jesus Christ, dude. So that's what I hate about this shit is like even moments that might pay off or have a chance of paying off and gaining some traction, it's undercut by fucking stupid jokes and they're not even funny. And I cannot tell you how many fucking times I was sitting there. 75%, half of that fucking script are James Gunn is just James Gunn jokes. Fucking 75% of them landed absolutely flat. Absolutely did not land. Nobody laughed. Was not funny.
No,
And
that's
it was
not
just
true. There were people
painful.
laughing at my theater.
Okay, not
your
for
theater is stupid. So
that was rough. That was so rough to just sit there through this. Like it's just dead silent when there's people supposed to be laughing.
So here's the big thing, and this is kind of towards the end. We told you the reveal that basically Ultraman was essentially Bizarro. You say, well, it's not officially, it's basically Bizarro. And then you get the reveal. There's obviously this whole angle here with Crypto and Superman, where Superman has absolutely no control over Crypto whatsoever, but we're supposed to believe that they have this close relationship, but we're never told exactly why they have a close relationship. Well, at the very end of the movie, we find out that Supergirl just shows up, and Supergirl is quite literally just a drunk whore. She shows up completely plastered, crashes into Superman's lair. The dog runs over there, tackles her, licks her all over the face, and basically she goes, yeah, I'm gonna go back to the other planet to go drink and whore it up some more. See you later, bitch. That's literally a line from the movie. I didn't just make that up. That's what she said in the film. And I was like, what? And I'm just like, this is James Gunn. This is James Gunn to the core. This is exactly why I said he is not a good look. When it comes to Guardians of the Galaxy, you can do a bunch of goofy nonsense because no one knows who those characters were when they came out 10 years ago. So you can do crazy, goofy stuff with Star-Lord and Gamora because the bar is so low, no one cares if it's not quote-unquote comic accurate. You can't do that with Superman. So this goofy, dumb nonsense that you're doing with all these, you can't do this with the Superman character, which is why I said from the jump, James Gunn is a terrible pick to be the Superman director. Not saying that Zack Snyder was better. I'm just saying he was not the right guy for this job, and that is ultimately the biggest problem with this movie.
But you have you're gonna get Supergirl. She's introduced in all of this. Isn't that fun and exciting?
Yeah. Now we're gonna get an HBO Max show about drunk teenage horde Supergirl.
First, I think we should apologize to Helen Slater. Apparently, her Supergirl is probably going to be better than this. I am not well enough familiar with this whole thing. When Peacemaker pops up, I think the audience laughed. I was like, what is he doing here? I was too busy concentrating on, what's Michael Ian Black doing here as this kind of reporter type person? What is I generally don't understand. I don't care. I don't care if they're going to make a Green Lantern TV show. I don't care if they're going to make a Supergirl TV show or spin-off.
Oh God! Can we just please talk about how clumsily they tried to do the media thing with we're using the media against Superman. It's like we already fucking saw this in Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice. And by the way, you know what? Yes, Zack Snyder is an incredibly flawed director, and really his DC shit didn't work. I will absolutely defend some aspects of Batman vs Superman, parts of Man of Steel, parts of Justice League. Some of the the action stuff, the way he shot the characters, I thought was fantastic. And there's stuff from the comics that he tried to incorporate clumsily, I might add, in Batman vs Superman. But that was at least somebody who gave a shit. That was somebody who cared. Maybe he was flawed. Maybe he fucked it up ultimately. But there's a lot more worthwhile in those movies, I would argue, than what I saw in James Gunn's Superman.
And I have to be a quick correction here. The Supergirl project is not going to be on HBO Max. It's going to be a feature film movie that gets released next summer, and they've already shot most of it too.
Can we get Faye Dunaway to come back as the witch in that Supergirl?
No,
that was the most
I
entertaining
still
part.
haven't seen that. There was a Supergirl movie that came out in the 80s, wasn't there?
Yes.
I've never seen it.
Slater and Faye Dunaway. Yes,
it's actually
Vaccaro. We gotta have Brenda Vaccaro as
for a camp movie, for a campy comic book movie. It's actually not that bad.
I mean it's definitely flawed. but who's? I mean, her little appearance there, or she's drunk, or kind of. She's drunk because she goes to all these red sun planets. That's the way I understand it. Um, is her character going to be interesting enough to follow into another film? Because she just kind of popped in and popped out.
Wait a
What
minute.
do we care?
It's going to be Broad City in the DC universe. That's exactly what. By the way, it's written by a woman too, so that's how you know it's going to be Broad City in the DC universe.
Hold on, I missed this part. Being under a red sun makes her drunk.
No, she has to go to a planet that has a red sun, because if you go to a yellow sun, they can't get drunk because the yellow sun gives them energy.
I was gonna say, in the final hours of Krypton, they were hella crunk. If that's the case, they were partying.
No, she
honey
literally
in the
has to
final
go
hours
to
of
like
Krypton.
a different universe so that she
They were
can
sitting-
actually get drunk. Yeah,
They were stumbling around singing Roxanne. You don't have to put on the
But
red
why?
sun.
But again, if she's just going to pop in there, and we're all supposed to cheer and say, "Oh wow, we're going to watch a Supergirl movie because she popped in there and she's going to, she's fond of Crypto," who's the real star of this movie? He was
True.
the dominant. He was a dominant figure.
It was a dog movie. It was Airbud with superpowers.
Yeah. And let me, real quick, and I'll let Rob go here. I actually want your thoughts on this too. Leslie put up a great comment here. It's that they're apparently going to cuss a lot in the Lantern series, and with this movie, the Lantern series, the Supergirl, it's showing me that clearly James Gunn is not making anything in this universe that is for children or families, because this is the overwhelming majority of the projects that have been produced here so far. So are we just focusing all of this on essentially emotionally stunted 30 and 40-year-olds, and that's supposed to be the target demographic of all of these shows and all of these films? Because
kids don't care.
Apparently, like I said, they must have just given up then, because they definitely ain't making this stuff for them. They're not making this for the families out there. I mean, like I said, Peacemaker had a Peacemaker, I should say. Peacemaker had
That's his
a cameo.
grandpappy.
Yeah. Well, he has a cameo in this, and clearly that character John Cena plays is not for kids either. So I was like, okay, who exactly is this for? Like, is this for Tom Connors? Is this a Tom Connor movie? Is this like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, I think it really is for adults who don't want to grow up. It's for people who are, they're 21, 24, 27, whatever, but they're people that ultimately have an infantilized view of the world. And this, I mean, look, it's you have people who they deflect this criticism by saying, well, it's a comic book, it's for kids, it's light, it's supposed to be a cartoon, and look, you can have that sensibility, but you also need to have, you need to pick a direction. You need to pick a theme. You need to be able to say what a movie's about and why people care about these characters, not just have a bunch of goofy jokes and slapstick and hey, look over here, and a bunch of distractions. I mean, it doesn't add up to a worthwhile experience, an entertaining experience. And just real quick about the dog, like the first scene of the movie is Superman landing in the snow, and then the dog hitting him or whatever, jumping on him aggressively, and it's like, is this funny? Who is this for? So sorry, go ahead.
People who get jumped on by their doggos.
I love dogs. Trust me, I fucking love dogs, and the inclusion of them in a movie makes me hate your fucking movie. You know why? It's a fucking gimmick. Sorry, go ahead, Nick.
No, it's always
would
that
say
way.
that,
You're absolutely right.
It could be used in small doses. The problem is that Crypto just kind of dominated so much of the film in a rational way. I will push back a little bit, and I mean, what I understood what Rob said, you could make a movie for kids, and that also works with adults. Going back again to the '78 version, you do have a family friendly, it appeals to the kids, but you also have a very well crafted love story between Superman and Lois, where that scene where they go off and they fly,
She checks out her panties.
She's reciting poetry, can you read my mind, and she does that little inner monologue. That's a beautiful moment, and it's so well done, and I don't think it's really going to care. The adults, I think, are going to find it more interesting. A kid character from the first one could be Otis, and you've also, but that love story is what works. I love Otis. So you could make a movie that works for kids. You could have jokey moments in Superman, but this is not jokey. This is not funny. It's annoying. I don't care about the robots. I don't care about that weird engineer. But at least we got representation because she was Hispanic. So we got representation. And Hawk Girl's also Hispanic. So we got female Hispanic representation.
Remember the random Indian dude?
For you.
You guys remember the random Indian dude who gets executed?
Yeah.
I was just laughing at that because it's like you could have picked anybody, but it's some Indian guy who's whatever. It's fine.
H1B really worked out, huh?
Yeah.
But so this review right here has been like burning up X today.
The movie is ridiculous. First of all, forget the political innuendos, and they're about as subtle as a jackhammer. I don't care about that. I'm not getting into that. What I'm getting into is, as for someone who's a old-time TV show Superman guy, this movie was pure torture to sit through. This was 2 hours of this new Superman. It was he wasn't Christopher Reeve, but he was okay Superman. Getting the crap beat out of him. Who wants to see Superman get beat up for 2 hours? He's getting beat up by everybody. Plus, you have other superheroes in the movie. I didn't go there to see some guy named Mr. Terrific or some lady named Hawk something or other. I don't even know who she was. Okay, these other superheroes who he calls on. Who are these other superheroes? This is a Superman movie. You want to see Superman flirt with Lois Lane, keep his disguise, and battle crime. That's what you want to see.
That's the thing.
That's too simple for your feeble mind.
He didn't have a disguise. Lois knew who he was, right? You know, she knew.
No, you don't understand. Lex Luthor made a reference that he didn't know that Clark Kent and Superman were the same person. So his disguise works.
No, Clark Kent. I mean, Lex Luthor may not have known, but Lois definitely knew. That's what I said. Lois knew who Superman and Clark Kent were the same person. Spoiler alert. She already knew.
She's brilliant, by the way. Did you catch that? She's brilliant. That's it.
So I wear nerd goggles in order to drive, you know, them glasses things. And I will tell you, I am constantly told you look nothing like yourself when you put those on. You look like a completely different person. And believe it or not, I wholeheartedly believe that a set of glasses is what prevents the world from knowing that Clark Kent is Superman. I will wholeheartedly believe that.
It's there. What is it? Hypnotic glasses?
Yeah, he has hypno glasses. Yeah, it's a ye olde thing from the age of Superman, where he had hypnovision. Among his myriad of visions, he was able to hypnotize people into believing that he was Clark Kent or whoever he needed to be. Yep. See, back in the day, before superheroes really made any sense, everybody was kind of figuring it out. The Action Comics editor said every month Superman gets a new power. It's what will keep the kids interesting. So that's how we ended up with Superman having the power to stare at his hand for a few seconds, and a tiny Superman just springs into existence in his palm and carries out his will.
So creates a great kazoo?
The term verisimilitude comes from this. And that is what will people believe? You know, that's the superhero term for what will people fucking buy this time?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. We saw the Hall of Justice there, and I think that was shot in a train station. I was like, I want to see the Legion of Doom. That looks more interesting than the Hall of Justice here.
Meanwhile.
Meanwhile, at the Legion of Doom.
Yes, we need a Legion of Doom movie. Confound it! Because
isn't this all just a big setup for a Super Friends versus Legion of Doom?
Yes.
Like,
that would have been
universe?
a better name than the Justice Gang, and I don't know why they kept going on trying to.
Because they needed to be able to do Justice League and make it sound more Superman-y, and that's why they did that.
But it just didn't sound funny at all.
Listen, consider this.
It wasn't funny every time they brought it up. It's like just call them the Super Friends and get the Wonder Twins in there.
Super Friends.
Yeah, the Super Friends, and just
the
get
Super Friends would be a great name.
Yeah,
leading up to.
And get the Wonder Twins. We need the Wonder Twins to pop up.
what if the Legion of Doom movie is they accidentally trip one of Lex Luthor's self-defense things and they can't get out, so they have to fight their way out of the Legion of Doom. So it's all the supervillains trapped inside the killer base trying to eliminate them.
I have a question here. So we're told by Mr. Terrific, and I'm sorry, but all I could think of was a Golden Girls episode where the character was called Mr. Terrific, and he was a TV show host. TV show host. We're told that if they fall into that river or whatever, that they'll instantly die. I guess that doesn't apply to Superman, as he falls into it as holding up that baby.
And the villains also fall into it as well, and apparently they're fine.
Yeah, so we're not going to have any consistency because, again, we are, something will happen if the plot requires it to, even if it contradicts itself.
So James Gunn understands what a protagonist is. He understands what an antagonist is. What he does not understand is what a hero is and what a villain is. He likes to measure that in gray area terminology. And so a hero is only a one bad day away from being the villain, and likewise the villain's only one good golly gosh darn day away from being the good guy.
That's what I learned from Ice Cube.
So the pocket universe explodes and it's going to rip open the world, but that doesn't seem to be a big concern. It's very slow moving as it goes through Metropolis.
As pocket universe detonations usually are,
Yes, I suppose so.
See, again,
2 out of 5.
Gunn
2 out of 5. This movie gets a 2 out of 5.
It's true. But
one.
He just doesn't know how to do heroes, like the aspirational hero. That's why Superman's like dislocating his arm and things like that in the movie, trying to deal with villains, because he can't picture a time when the character's in control. He's always stuck reacting, and that's not good. Don't do that.
And for the record, the only reason I'm giving this a 2 out of 5 is because the actors in this film weren't bad. I don't think they were the problem. The problem with this film was terrible writing, up and down.
The actor playing Mr. Terrific does deserve his own solo series. Like, if he gets a Luke Cage treatment, I will 100% be down for that. That was a great actor.
I'm not sold on that. I'll say that David Cornsweet, I think, did the best he could with the material he had. They underused Perry White. Nicholas Hoult, I think he did a pretty good job as Mr. Luthor, though Gene Hackman is an impossible standard to match up against. But
I thought you were going to mention Kevin Spacey.
That's Rob's friend. That's Rob's friend. He's not my friend.
He actually was a pretty decent, whatever. I'm going to say he was a decent Lex Luthor, even though I'm sure things will be thrown at me for that. But
he was Gene Hackmaning his ass off in that role, and he did a good job.
Right.
Yes,
I would say that the guy who
took
plays
serious.
Mr. Terrific is actually. So I actually know him from this movie called Gone Baby Gone, where he plays a murderer. What was it? Let me see how Ed Harris described him. A murderous Haitian named Cheese. So he plays a real piece of work in the movie I know him from. But yeah, I didn't think he was bad per se. It's just, again, none of these actors are set up to succeed in this movie. So, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, you didn't do terrible with what you were given, but it's hard to kind of be like, hey, I want to see more of that.
I just wonder why people are constantly trying to push Nathan Fillion to be this iconic nerd hero. I guess ever since, what was it, Superfly?
No, it was
Firefly.
Dr. Disaster's sing-along blog that got him into the superhero. Dr. Horrible, sorry.
Horrible sing-along blog.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what got him into his Captain Hammer. But that's the problem, is that, like, who the hell sits down and looks at Nathan Fillion and goes, Guy Gardner? That's Hal Jordan, left, right, upside down, and backwards. The man is just, he's built to be Hal Jordan. That's what he was born to do. He just talks like the character naturally.
There's this post from 8 years ago where I was like, hey, I think Nathan Fillion would make a good Hal Jordan / Green Lantern.
Yeah. And James Gunn was like, you.
Yeah.
He was like, maybe not Hal Jordan, but, and then basically this is what we got.
See, like, Brendan Fraser was like the perfect Superman. There's this picture of him in the costume, and it's like, what is wrong with you people? You trying to stuff Nick Cage in this shit? You got Brendan Fraser right there?
Yeah, but see, Brendan Fraser looks like a senator now, so it doesn't really work out as well.
Brendan Fraser went on to be a whale.
He got back in shape. Yeah, he just got his weight back under control. That was a big thing that went around the other day, that Brendan Fraser's not fat anymore.
And I'm sorry, it was my favorite movie of 2023, but Brendan Fraser getting up to yell for like 2 lines in Killers of the Flower Moon is so funny. And I still think it's kind of a bad scene, but it's fine. It's
yeah.
Every movie's got him.
This is not.
I mean, I would have done it. I would have, like, you get to work with Scorsese. Yeah, why not? Like, I would have.
Yeah,
I'll say whatever you want me to say.
Well, I don't know. I mean, Scorsese's, we know, it's a bitter elitist has been. So we it is not a good movie. This is, no one's going to say that this is going to take the place of the Christopher Reeve version. I'll just say that the people who keep insisting this is a definitive Superman movie. This is like great. This is going to tower over. This is better than the Richard Donner one. You're nuts, or you're seriously so paid off by the studios that you could just hear the
cha-ching, 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 cha-ching.
There's no way that this is going to be, there's no way that this will be remembered the way the 1978 version is remembered.
People have already forgotten about it, Rick. They've already forgotten about this Superman. They've moved on.
About this,
they got the Fantastic Four to worry about. Excuse me, the Fantastic Four skins that are coming out.
Oh,
well.
No. Fortnite put out an advertisement that said "Coming soon, Fantastic Four skins."
We'll have to argue about Pedro Pascal later, because there's only so much of that guy I can take in the course of a week. But we're going to pause here because we're going to move over to our very, very explosive closer here for the night.
Boy.
Yeah, it's time to get crazy because we're going into the muck. This is about the whole Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Trump situation. So let me just go ahead and kind of explain how we got here. Obviously, several months ago, Trump and a lot of the people who he, elected to be a part of his administration were all in on we need to figure out whose names are on that list, Jeffrey Epstein. And everyone was like, yeah, figure out who's on Pedophile Island. Then a few months passed. It's like, we got the list. It's redacted, but we got it. Don't worry, we'll release it sooner rather than later. And it's like, okay, give us the unredacted list. And now here we are now. And it's like, there's no list. Pretty sure Obama was responsible. Just stop talking about the list. Just go on and do other things here. And this has backfired horrendously on Donald Trump. And let me just say a couple of things. I'm going to kind of give you guys the setup of this whole situation. I have my own theory about where all this is going, but I'm intentionally going to let you guys run with this firstly here. But here's essentially what happened. Donald Trump recently came out and was like, we're not talking about, the Epstein situation anymore. He wants people to move past it, right? And because he's out here portraying this, because he wants everyone to stop talking about Jeffrey Epstein, there's been 2 prevailing narratives that have been created, one by the left and one by the right. So now everyone's trying to figure out the real reason why we're not getting the Epstein list. If you're on the political left right now, you're pretty much convinced that the only reason why we're not getting the Epstein list is because Trump is on it, right? Now, to that point, I will say yes and no, and I'll explain in more detail what I mean by that later. Then on the political right, you have people who are absolutely convinced that the reason why we're not getting the Epstein list is because Israel's responsible for Pedophile Island, right? Again, we're going to talk about that here towards the end. So I'm going to go ahead and play the video of Trump from last week, and this is why a lot of people have very, very hostily turned against Trump, specifically on this issue, because he wants this to go away. His base is not willing to let this go away for the obvious reasons. But here's what he said last week.
Sure. And your memo and release yesterday on Jeffrey Epstein, it left some lingering mysteries. One of the biggest ones is whether he ever worked for a American or foreign intelligence agency. The former labor secretary, who was Miami U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta, he allegedly said that he did work for an intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did? And
by the way, just quick sidebar, this has nothing to do with the topic of the conversation, but for a movie that just tried to portray hard-nosed journalists asking the tough questions, can you answer it with like a little less like nervousness in your voice and just get out the freaking question? That's a small little pet peeve of mine, but I'll go back to Trump's answer.
Is that Az in the background? Look at that bald guy right next to him. Is that Az? Heel versus Babyface?
Who let that Brit in the damn White House? Throw him out of here. Send him back to London Stan, where he belongs.
also,
Check his
could you
visa.
say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the night of his death.
Yeah, sure. If I
Pam, could I
It's just a little paper that says
Are
Gary
you
gave
still
me
talking
permission.
about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems
The most successful
like a
tragedy.
desecration. But you go ahead.
And also tragedy.
Sure. First.
So Pam Bondi, she's the woman in charge here. I can go on a whole rant about her, but she's not really the whole topic of here. I'm only skipping over her because we're focusing more on Trump here. So this was Trump. I believe was this earlier today that he made this comment. Yeah, this is earlier. Oh, yeah, right. No, this is earlier today. Trump once again trying to downplay the whole Epstein situation.
On what? On the DOJ and FBI. On what? On what subject?
Epstein. Okay. On Epstein. Of the review of the files. Attorney General Pam Bondi.
A very quick briefing.
Did she tell you? What did she tell you about the review? And specifically, did she tell you at all that your name appeared in the file?
No. She's given us just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen, and I would say that these files were made up by Comey. They were made up by Obama. They were made up by the Biden. We went through years of that with the Russia hoax, with all of the different things that we had to go through. We've gone through years of it, but she's handled it very well, and it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release. Yeah.
On Texas, how many more seats do you want the Republicans to?
Now that was the conversation there, but basically the point that we're at right now is that Trump knows this too, is that a lot of people in his administration several months ago when they won the election was pushing that, hey, day one, we're going to get to the bottom of this Epstein thing. Because, the Biden administration had pretty much, buried everything once Epstein, quote unquote, committed suicide in his cell and all that. So we're going to uncover it all. And now all of a sudden, it seems like suddenly over the last couple of weeks, they don't want anything to do with this whole situation. So I have a theory. I'm going to be looking at this from a much, much bigger scale than obviously a lot of you guys will. So I'm going to require a little bit more time to unpack here. So I want to start this off with you guys here. Eddie, I'm going to start off with you. I know how you feel about this whole situation, and I get it, because you're talking to someone here who you were on the trenches in the front line fighting for this man, quite literally fighting for this man several years ago, and now you're sitting here and he's defending the whole, it's hard to say he's defending Epstein, but he's definitely trying to essentially tell people to look the other way with this whole situation. People are saying, no, we know something shady's going on here. We want the truth. You need to give us the truth and do what you said you're going to do, and he feels like he's blatantly not doing that right now, and a lot of people are upset by this. What is your thoughts on the whole Trump and Epstein situation as it's unfolded over the course of the last couple of weeks?
I think that there's something really, really sinister going on, probably underneath everything. I can't know anything about any of that.
Mm-hmm.
If there was disappointment in trying to defend this man, especially the way, I bled for this guy. And it's really hard to say that when I know that he is willing to protect people that apparently haven't done a thing, according to the DOJ and the FBI and the CIA and everybody else, haven't done a thing. And there are people in prison right now that are not linked to anything that Jeffrey Epstein has done, and it's all a fucking fabrication that we've all been lied to since the beginning of some sort. And I'm sorry, I just sounded like a bunch of rambling, but it's really, really disheartening for me to fucking deal with this guy right now. And I don't think it's like a Jewish conspiracy necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Mossad has anything to do with Israel necessarily. I think Mossad is just like the CIA and all these other fucking places that, they have their own mission to control the world.
Yeah.
So
Because I mean, that would be like saying like the CIA is essentially like the United States, where clearly there's many of the people who don't agree with the actions of the CIA and the FBI, but they are the ones running things behind closed doors, right? And that's kind of the context, right?
It's completely though disingenuous, I think, to say that we shouldn't release these files, because his argument is we shouldn't release the files because it might hurt people who are like, you know, haven't done anything. They don't even know who Epstein. They were never on the island. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me whether or not I wasn't there. So it doesn't matter to me whether or not highly powerful people are going to have their fifis hurt because, you know, they happen to be linked to a guy who is peddling pedophilia all over his fucking island. And to say this Pam Blondie, I'm not going to get us banned from YouTube about it, but this bitch has a fucking audacity to claim that she is the head of all of this shit. She has the whole files in front of her. Everything's in front. She's studying. She's going through everything. And then to come out that absolutely nothing happened, and then to spin it on us. And you people, you want to look at child porn, and that's why we're not going to release it. What? Bitch, don't fucking gaslight me into this.
This is actually your fault.
You're the bitch who said that this guy downloaded porn. This guy didn't download porn. This guy made it with very, very powerful people that I've never heard of. The only powerful people maybe Bill Gates, sure, because his wife even said, this guy's a lunatic. I have to leave him because of what happened with Epstein. So maybe Bill Gates, maybe some other people like that. You know who had some balls in all of this was the lawyer, the Jewish lawyer. I can't remember. Harbowitz or whatever his name is. Drew Harbowitz. I know you know what I'm talking about.
You're talking about Dershowitz?
Alan Dershowitz?
Yeah.
Alan Dershowitz. So he gets sued for all of this, and he decides to clear his name. And guess what he can do? He cleared his name, and he had something to do with Epstein, being his lawyer and all, but he had nothing to do with the pedophilia. I can believe Alan Dershowitz about this, because Alan Dershowitz had to prove his point, and I think that all of these powerful people who are worth billions and millions and trillions of dollars should have to prove what they were having to do with Jeffrey Epstein, even if it's just a handshake and hello, because even the president of the United States right now has a few pictures with him. So I can assume all I want about that. Apparently to Alan Dershowitz, he's seen the list. There's nobody on the list that's in power, like in political power right now. And I think that's the reason why Trump wants to put it on Obama and everybody else. Bitch, release the list. Release the list, you fucking orange cunt. You bitch, you have to release the list. Otherwise, it's completely worthless for all of us to fucking defend you in a couple of years when you're going to claim that you've changed the economy and you've done this and you've done that. You changed the economy because you got rid of a fucking million of fucking people. You got rid of millions of people. Oh, wow, there happen to be jobs now. Yeah, of course there are jobs, you idiot. So please, Mr. President, do us a favor. Stop being a fucking ball sack. Have some marbles and fucking release the damn list.
Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, I listen. I'm certainly not going to take the opposite of that and say this is just made up. This is just smoke and mirrors. But this whole thing just doesn't add up. Okay, I'm gonna say this. There's too much evidence. There's too much smoke to ignore, and just be like, oh, this is just a made up conspiracy. I don't think. First of all, I don't even know if we're operating with all the information. I don't know who's like behind closed doors, like who's been threatened. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much fucking information we don't know. And I always follow this phrase with, outrageous claims require outrageous evidence. Now, I'm pretty sure it's irrefutable that Jeffrey Epstein was involved with whatever you want to call it, prostitution at the least, and at the very worst, possibly sex trafficking. That's hard. Like, you can't really erase that from, that knowledge being out there for the last 20, 30 years, even before he was arrested. And so to pretend now that happened, or that he didn't hang, he was hung, he hung himself for what? For not doing anything. That's why he hung himself. because he didn't do anything. That doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Even if Jeffrey Epstein wasn't like chief pedophile in charge, he was absolutely running some kind of a blackmail racket behind the scenes with powerful people. I mean, that's really what it comes down to in the whole scope of this case, certainly.
Yeah, and it's like, why is Ghislaine Maxwell in prison? If no crimes are committed, if there's no sex trafficking, if there's no list of, I do, this is kind of a funny thing, is like there's that scene in The Wire where like the guy's taking down minutes for their like literal drug conspiracies. Like, are you literally taking notes on a fucking criminal conspiracy? Like, it is kind of funny to think about this large scale. Like, we're literally writing down what people have done or we recorded them doing to use it as blackmail. But if anybody found we had possession of this, we'd literally go to jail for the rest of our lives. Like all of this shit operates in this world of like, the law doesn't exist for these people, does it? And so that's all I can really say, is that my mind is reeling thinking about all of the shit that's going on behind the scenes to create this. Because I don't know that Trump ever campaigned on this, but he definitely talked about it enough for, you know, his supporters to feel like he was going to at least look into it.
He said Bill Clinton is on the list. A bunch of bad people are on the list.
And listen, like even if you voted for Trump, you have to admit that he says all kinds of shit that you know he has no intention of following up on.
Sure.
And that whatever. So
Epstein
I think this
did
is
have
very
that
interesting. I don't know that we're going to be able to glean a whole lot from it. I think it's incredibly disappointing for somebody, you know, but I don't trust politicians anyway. So when they say that they're going to do something, I will wait until that day comes, you know, just with the JFK shit. It's like, hey, you say you're going to release it in 2020, whatever. I will just keep on waiting, because I'm sure that's not all of it.
To that point, there are still people from January 6th in prison.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That just decided to fucking defend this man.
Yeah.
They're still in prison, Mr. President. You still haven't released everybody. You still haven't given full pardons to all the people who decided to defend you on that. You still haven't visited the people who went to the hospital who got beaten up in the streets for you. You still haven't done a whole lot of shit. And guess what? As Americans, we're willing to put up with it. Because we don't need our president to pat our ass every single time we go off and have to defend this country, even when it's against our own countrymen. Because I didn't fight immigrants. Well, I fought some. I didn't fight immigrants, though. I fought my own people, my own voters, against me, throwing punches, rocks, bricks, everything at each other. Yep. For you, Mr. President.
Like I said, I was going to say, like, you're in California. There had to have been a couple of immigrants in there, but that's besides the point.
We're on our side, Mr. President. Guess what, stupid? You're fucking deporting half of your fucking voting base, you moron. Because they were on our side at the beginning, you dummy.
Rick, give us your insight on this real quick.
I have no insight.
That's great. Cider, give us your insight on this real quick.
No, I haven't followed this story to the degree you have. My points are simple. If there's evidence of wrongdoing, prosecute those who were involved in it. I don't know if this Epstein list and the conspiracies, all of that has just taken on a life of their own. This isn't like that Pizzagate thing where Hillary Clinton apparently ran some sort of child sex trafficking from a pizza parlor in Washington or something.
No, that was Chester's dad.
Oh, see, I don't even know. Chester A. Arthur, the former president? I don't know. All just say is,
Rick is a boomer. You got to remember, he doesn't understand.
If there are criminal activities, then they should be prosecuted. And it should not matter in theory who is involved. It's unfortunate that if it were that case, that people are being protected. I don't know enough about this story to offer much, but the idea that a politician or someone who's running for office who says something and then they don't keep their word, who here would generally be shocked that such a thing would happen? I don't understand why anyone would be shocked that someone would not keep any campaign pledges that he or she makes once they are elected. This is par for the course. So again, and I say this as someone who has never voted for the Donald and has never really been all that invested one way or the other. I'm not a Trump guy. I'm not a Trump derangement syndrome type of guy either. But really, for me, if there are crimes that have been committed, prosecute whoever based on the evidence that you have. Simple as that. Life should be simple. We just make it too complicated.
Cider, I want you to go. Then, like I said, I'm going to unpack this whole thing the way that I see it.
Oh yeah, sure. So just to clear some things up, Jeffrey Epstein was convicted of pedophile activities, harming children, having sexual relations with children, and then Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted of supplying those children. Now, during her deposition, she said she can't give away the name of her client. She signed a bunch of paperwork. So that made everybody very angry. So she's now saying she wants to come out and talk. So I just want to make it clear that she's in jail because she brought thousands of children to Jeffrey Epstein, who then did unspeakable things to thousands of children. Now, I don't believe that he did it to thousands of kids. That's statistically impossible. It's humanly impossible, in fact. So, well, it is. It's just humanly impossible to do that to the amount of people who claim to be Epstein Island victims. And so then we also have confirmations that people like friggin' Bill Gates have been there like 35 times. So it's like, buddy, you can't come and tell us that the Epstein list is fake because this thing has been talked about since before Obama was a thing, okay? This thing has been a known quantity in Hollywood and in Washington since the 80s when this guy got started doing his thing. Now, we've had a Mossad agent come out and say that he worked with Mossad. So again, it's one of those things that's like you can't just sweep this under the rug. You have to answer for it. And the only way you're going to answer for it is to come out and explain, yes, the entirety of the US government and the majority of our institutions were and currently are staffed by child abusers. And you have to deal with what happens after that.
So let me unpack what I think is actually going on here. And it is actually significant, but just not in the way that a lot of people are talking about this. So I'm going to explain it to you. This is my theory. So if I'm wrong, you can say, okay, this is just Jacob's theory. If I'm right, I want all the credit, right? So here's what I think is happening. And I've been telling people this for a while, especially if you guys have been following me on Twitter or if you guys follow me over on like the Bible lens. I've been saying two things pretty strongly for a while. One, if you're looking at this story from a political lens, then you're going to be completely missing what's actually happening here. And I tell people that all the time, and they still kind of fall into the trap of looking at it from a political lens. Secondly, even when Trump won the election, and I did a video about this maybe 8 months ago about even though Trump is going to be president, I don't think that he's going to be particularly the good guy in this scenario. Now, my angle from this whole thing was that if I'm looking at, Trump being president in a time where we're talking about end times prophecy and all that good stuff, how is this all going to play out? And if you guys have been following me over on the Bible lens, I've talked about the fact that a lot of people, prominent people in Trump's administration, including the Vice President J.D. Vance himself, have a lot of strong ties to the Roman government. Why that's important is because, let's be honest, we are probably a heart attack or a scandal away from J.D. Vance being the president of the United States. Hold on to that thought. We'll come back to it later. So, over the course of the last few weeks, something has certainly changed behind the scenes with this Jeffrey Epstein narrative, because it's not like Trump didn't know that there were people in his administration that made the promise that they were going to expose this Epstein thing. This has been going on for months. So if he was really truly against this whole Jeffrey Epstein narrative, he would have said something back in January rather than July, right? But he's only really strongly come out against it over the last couple of weeks, which tells me something here has changed. When you look at it from a political perspective, like I said, there's essentially two prevailing narratives from two sides of the spectrum. Everyone on the left believes that the reason why we don't have the Epstein list is because Trump's name is on there and he's trying to protect himself. A lot of people on the right believe that the reason that we don't have the list is because Israel is involved in everything and is implicated, and they don't want to release the list because they're trying to protect Israel. So when I'm hearing these narratives being promoted by a lot of people, I'm noticing something is happening here. Is that there is a slow turn happening, and two parties are essentially impacted in it. It is clearly Trump and it is clearly Israel. So what does this all mean? How is this all implicated here? I believe from the perspective of the left, everyone's looking at it that, oh, Trump has to be on the list. That's why we don't have it. If you asked me this a couple of weeks ago, I would say that is complete and utter nonsense, and here's why. It's not like the Jeffrey Epstein list is something that's only been around for like the last few months, right? This is something that's been going on for several years. When Biden was president for many years, they had the list, if the list does in fact exist. So if there was concrete stone cold evidence, specifically within the FBI, the CIA, and the NSA, that Donald Trump is on a list of known pedophiles who visited Pedophile Island and probably did God knows what on that island, we would have known about this several years ago. If that was the case, there would have been no need for an assassination attempt. They would have just had to leak it out to the New York Times or the Washington Post or whatever news outlet they can. It's like, hey, we have verified evidence that Trump's name is on this list and it's out there. But they never did that. Even when the years that Biden was in charge and they could have done that, they didn't do it. So I'm not buying the narrative that he's always been on the list. However, there has been a recent notable change. Here's what I believe has happened. As they have continued to go and investigate to figure out where this list is and whose name is on and all the redacted stuff, I do believe right now that there is a version of a list out there that has Donald Trump's name in it. And he knows that if he comes out with that list, he is going to be implicated and it's going to be a disaster for his presidency. Now, for those of you guys who have been paying attention, I've been saying for a while now, for months, I do not believe Donald Trump is going to finish out his first term. Some people here has pushed back against that, Rick, but I truly believe second term, excuse me. But I do not believe that he's going to finish out his second term. I think that he will be pushed out one way or another. Now, we don't know what the catalyst to that will be, but I do not believe that he will make it to 2028. On the flip side of this, what are we actively seeing in the world right now? We're actively seeing a lot of people all over the world, not just here in the United States, but everywhere. There is a growing hatred of the nation of Israel and the Jewish people. If you guys have been on Twitter for more than 5 minutes, you kind of see it's profound right now. Some guy hacked the Elmo account over the weekend and basically said kill all Jews and a whole bunch of anti-Semitic stuff. There's a growing movement here that is anti-Israel, that is anti-Jewish. You see it with Candace Owens, you see it with Tucker Carlson, Dan Bilzerian, Stu Peters, all of those names here, right? And the implication from their end is that, well, the reason why we don't have the name is because Epstein is a Mossad agent and they're protecting Israel because Israel is quote unquote our greatest ally. So that's the reason why we don't have the list. Now, this is something that's been going on for a while, the whole ties to Jeffrey Epstein and Mossad. This goes all the way back to the book that came out a few years ago with Dylan Howard, where he talked to, what was his name, Ari bin Mashi, who was a former Mossad agent, who says that he worked with Jeffrey Epstein, and that basically this whole thing is a conspiracy racket, right? And I think we just lost someone here. Oh, no, we just brought this up over there. Yeah, the great noticing, right? So there's also the prevailing narrative that Israel's implicated here as well. So I think what's going to happen here, this will be kind of the perfect storm of all this coming together. Let's say, for the sake of argument, this is what we're going to do here, that there's a list out there, Trump is implicated, but not only is Trump implicated, but Israel is also implicated in this. Let's say that this list got released and it's out in the public. What is that going to cause for a lot of people, both left and right? Obviously, the people who already hate Trump are only going to turn on him even more, but then the people who have openly defended him up to this point, and then all of a sudden a list comes out that implicates him, that's going to be the turning point for a lot of people, where it's like, I can no longer defend this man. He's involved. Do whatever you want, right? Then that's going to be essentially the catalyst that I see that gets rid of Trump and moves him out of the picture. And when does that bring into it? If Trump is out of the picture, J.D. Vance, he gets a free ride to become president of the United States commander-in-chief. What does that do if you also have a list that implicates Israel? Well, guess what? If you think people hate Israel now, wait until you find headlines that said that Israel involved in pedophile island scheme. You're only going to get more people that's going to turn against that nation as time goes on. And if that were to happen and the Trump thing were to happen, now all of a sudden you're looking at a realistic future where J.D. Vance is the president of the United States. And we all know J.D. is not as pro-Israel as Donald Trump is. When the whole thing with Israel and Iran was happening several weeks ago, J.D. Vance was supportive of Trump, but made it very clear that he didn't particularly agree with some of the decisions that were being made at that time frame. Where is this all leading? Where am I getting at here? There's going to be a time period, as we talked about many times in times, where the whole world is going to come against Israel. It's already happening. The only thing that's really stopping that point where we're talking about all-out war against Israel is the fact that the United States, one of the most powerful nations in the world, is firmly in the corner of Israel at this moment. There may be a time in the near future where that is no longer the case. And if that's no longer the case, Israel as a nation will quite literally find itself completely on its own, because there's already growing resentment in Europe, in Asia, and clearly the Middle East doesn't exactly have the greatest fondest things to think about Israel. We already know that. So where's this all leading to? I think that probably sooner rather than later, I will say that probably by the end of this summer, you're going to get a list that gets released that's going to implicate a number of people that's just going to so-called happily push this powder keg into the direction of the time period that I've been talking about, for several months. And this is why I think that Donald Trump is pushing back against this whole Epstein list. Because like I said, I do think that somewhere around there, he is implicated. Whether he's truly implicated or is there just something that's saying that he is implicated doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, because he's going to go down with it one way or another. And then this will be used as a catalyst to start essentially all-out conflict against this nation in that time period that we've been talking about literally for 2,000 years, but I've been talking about on the show for the last couple of years. That's how I think that this is all going to play out. And when it does play out, everyone's going to assume to themselves that they're right. Obviously, the people who want Trump down, they're going to assume that they're right. They're going to run with their narrative. The people who are anti-Israel, they're going to think that they're right. They're going to run with their narrative. And everything's going to be growing, and no one's really paying attention to what's happening, because no one's really looking at the big game, the big picture, and the end game of all of this, which is essentially war against Israel. And that's why I think that's the real story behind what's happening here with Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. I can only say that this is my theory. Obviously, I can't prove it 100% right now, but if you pay attention to this story over the course of the next few weeks, maybe even few months, I think that all roads are possibly leading to this. This is where I think the jumping off point is going to be, and this is where it's going to be the whole blow up point with this whole situation. And it's going to be very interesting to see how this all unfolds here. But I just personally feel like this is where it's all going. So I'll go ahead and shoot this one back over to you guys. I guess we'll start with Eddie and go kind of around here. Do you think that I'm on to something with some of this, or where would you say is the kind of the pushback of where you think I think that this is going?
Yeah, I think that's perfectly reasonable, actually. I totally listen, Mr. Trump, if you're going to claim to be the law and order president, right? Like, that's the worst part about this. If you're right, if everything is correct and he's in the list and Israel's in the list and it's completely linked to everything, I mean, there is a legitimate justification for wanting to have a little bit of law and order in the world. And if it comes down to the fact that if the law and order is this, oops. I mean, like, it's hard. It's hard to defend like something like this, and I don't know whether or not it's because they want to destroy Israel. I'm sure there's people out there that want to destroy Israel over this. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not one of them, because I don't mind Israel. I don't care for Israel, but I don't mind it. And like, if that's the case, then we need to find out which Israelis did this. If it is Netanyahu, guess what? Netanyahu isn't the bringer of light. He isn't the second Messiah. He isn't the whatever the fuck the Jews believe. All right, it's time to fucking lock up Netanyahu if that's the case. If Nettie is the problem, it's time for Nettie to go. And I think Trump has a lot. I think Trump listens to his son-in-law about this, because his son-in-law was Ivana's husband. He's a top Kushner. I'm sure he brings up a lot of this stuff. I'm sure, and that's where Trump is going towards. And the Jews, they let you not have to really believe in God as long as you're a nice guy and everything. And then we can work around things, and we can work with each other. So it's not like if it is the Jews and Trump and they're on the list, it's time for a little law and order, I guess. Oops,
Yeah.
I guess that's how justice works. But I don't want anyone's head cut off.
And real quick before I go to Rick here, this is how I know that something has certainly changed recently. Because here's the thing, the focus here is clearly on Trump now, but this is why I know something has happened over the last couple of weeks. Because now the mainstream media is talking about the Jeffrey Epstein files again. They're like, hey, maybe we should release the files again. Maybe let's focus on Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein was persona non grata for several years for the obvious reasons and the obvious implications of who he may have been associated with. Now, all of a sudden, everyone seems to be free to talk about Jeffrey Epstein again. Even Kevin Spacey is making public comments talking about we should release the Epstein files. Kevin Spacey, who was alleged for his own stuff and just so happens to get off on a technicality because all of his witnesses turned up dead. That's not suspicious at all. But even he's making a public call for pushing for the Epstein list. And why is that? Why is it now that the Washington Post is now making public calls and, hey, maybe there's something here that we can use? Why are Democrats now moving forward here? I think something has happened behind the scenes that we're not publicly being told about, and I think that there's a reason why we're seeing this renewed push, because the people who could have been talking about this for the last 5 or 6 years who chose not to, for some reason the last couple of weeks, they're all being very chatty about this now.
Well, the thing that makes sorry, I don't mean to cut Rick off here or anything, but just really quick about the Kevin Spacey thing. And it's true. He's one of my favorite actors. Absolutely. And a couple of the cases, they just didn't have anything. Yes, it is weird that a couple of the people that were alleged that something happened died, or there was a car accident or something. That is weird. I can't excuse that away. But the thing that makes my antenna go up is the fact that Kevin Spacey's coming out now. Yeah. Why is Kevin Spacey, the guy that is also persona non grata in Hollywood, why is he being given a platform to talk about this right now? I mean, who's desperately trying to get back into Hollywood and get another chance? And, it's like that. And that is something that kind of unsettles me, just to see the timing of that. And listen, just, yeah, go ahead. Go, Rick. I don't want to take your,
you're doing very well. First, I think that I don't know if Trump would be on this list, only because we've heard these weird stories about him with golden showers and all of these kind of nutty stories about him. I don't know what else he's been doing, 50 Shades of Grey type deals, and they had no proof. They just were spreading these stories, and we were supposed to believe them because we were supposed to believe everything deranged about everything Trump had done. And I don't think there's any oh yes, Israel is involved, because of course the Jews control the planet with the protocols of the elders of Zion. This is what it's slipping into in my mind. That now we're going to look and see if the protocols of the elders of Zion apparently are now accurate. Again, I don't follow this story, but all of these things are, to my mind, just kind of slipping into almost wild conspiracies of, the Israelis and the Jews, they're controlling all of this, and they're keeping things hidden, and Trump is involved, and he's the king of this island of debauchery, and it's a conspiracy because now the government of the United States is going to be handed over to Pope Leo, who's also an American. I mean, I don't know.
Conveniently an American.
You see, all of this to me just is slipping into almost crazed conspiracies, and my life is just a little,
How is it crazed conspiracies when it's actively happening?
Yes, that is right. J.D. Vance is conspiring with the Israelis to try to push Trump
That's not
out.
what I said. That's not what I said. That's not even remotely what I said.
Hand over the government to Rome. We've heard these kind of things before about how the Catholics are going to try, the Pope is going to try to take over the White House, and he's going to rule over America.
Not even remotely.
We're just
what I
slipping
said.
into all of this sort of thing. But again, I've not followed this story. You all have followed this story much more. But no, I don't think that Trump is doing golden showers or involved in this, and I don't think the Israelis are conspiring, forming these doctored pictures and creating these islands of all of this, and Mossad agents that Epstein was involved with Mossad, and he's like the head of the Mossad, and he's channeling the spirit of Golda Meir and David Ben Gurion to try to take over. I don't know. It just to me sounds.
I didn't say that.
This almost seems pretty bonkers.
To summarize Rick's point, I don't know.
Yes,
Yeah, no,
pretty much.
Look, and I would say this. I would say that if this is legit, okay, if this list exists, if there's knowledge of who used to frequent, Jeffrey Epstein's island or whatever, and it's people in our government, if it's Supreme Court justices and senators, and I'm sorry, if that's real, if it's genuine, it's a genuine thing. I don't like if you fail to act like symbolically, that's the end of the United States of America. Okay. And I know that I'm saying that sounds drastic. No,
Right.
if you literally know about children who were systematically targeted and whatever, molested, raped, treated in the most awful way you could come up with, and you didn't do anything, or worse, you profited off of it, or
ran it.
You'll be lucky if an execution is the least of it.
Yeah.
You know
That's
what I mean?
that's
that kind of level of like, if we don't do anything and this is real, we got some serious fucking problems.
That's the down to earth part about the whole thing, is that we can the Jeffrey Epstein Island is this Shangri-La of everything that is going on in small towns and medium-sized towns, where you're looking at milk carton kids and you're wondering where they've been for the past 20 years. And to know that there is something that won't even go after the powerful about it. I can only imagine the fact that the government is willing not to go after the worst of the worst about it. What could I possibly think?
Because what would happen?
Protect me as a normal person.
Because what would happen if you found out that the worst and the worst were in your own government? Like, we always think of the worst of like some shadow drug cartel or some shadowy organization. What if it's just actually just the government? Here's the last point here that I'll make, and I'll go to Cider here for the last word, is that there's a lot of people out there that claim that they want the truth, but in reality, they don't want the truth. And here's what I mean by this. We talk about all the time, the beam of, oh yeah, Satan worshiping pedophiles run the world and they're doing all these wicked things behind closed doors, and people kind of laugh it off like, oh, conspiracy talk. What if it was actually true? What if you actually had to wake up one day and accept the fact that that is a reality? I mean, when we're talking about people implicated in this Jeffrey Epstein thing, we're not just talking about celebrities, politicians, not even just U.S. based. This isn't just a U.S. story. We had crown princes in the UK that were implicated, in Monaco who were implicated. We had Saudi princes implicated in this. Obviously, we had people in Israel, Mossad, that were implicated. This is a worldwide situation here. So if you're looking at it from the micro lens of, oh, well, if it's just Trump or if it's just Israel, I'm fine with that because it's just one person who can go down for. What if it's not just one person? What if you actually had to wake up and accept and realize that there is a worldwide global network of very, very powerful people doing very, very evil things behind closed doors, and a lot of them are in prominent, powerful positions of nations all around the world? Are you ready to accept that? And a lot of people are not ready to come to that conclusion. They may claim that they want justice. They may claim that they want the truth. Are you really willing to accept that that is the reality of what's going on here? And a lot of people are kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out on that whole situation, which is why it's easier for them to focus on Trump or on Clinton or on Epstein or on Mossad, because they don't want to accept that maybe it's the entire world that's wicked and evil, and we're just kind of playing along in this simulation, trying to pretend like it's not that way when maybe it actually is. Yep. It's just a question. Cider, are you still alive?
Yeah. I didn't know. I didn't want to interrupt.
No, that was my last point.
Oh yeah. Well, what you were talking about earlier with the list being changed, sure, that's perfectly fine that it could have been tampered with. That's completely plausible. the situation is that we are when you the subject matter as you brought up, if it is a global pedophile network of elites, that means they have power. They're not elites for no reason.
Yeah.
And so let's zoom back out and pretend for a moment that we're in a Brad Thor novel. You know, we're not so 007-y, but we're in a Brad Thor novel, so it's pretty deep in. And let's say that there is a global pedophile network in this novel. Would they not seek to murder anybody that's going to expose that and probably bring about the worst possible human punishments anybody could imagine that will be executed upon them? Yeah. Yeah, they are. And so, you know, of course, Jacob, you're absolutely right that Trump's worried. But on the other end, this is something that I posted about is that anybody in these positions should not have a family. I'm sorry. I know it's very cute and nice to think that everybody in the White House is all going to be a family. But no, you need lone wolf autismos running the FBI and the CIA and the NSA and the DOJ. You need people who do nothing but know baseball stats about terrorists, like total autismos that think about nothing other than hanging the worst people on earth. They don't have family. They don't have friends. They don't even have a favorite color. All they want to do is murder criminals.
You need people you can't blackmail.
Exactly. Because I'll tell you what happened to Cash. They said, how many agents do you have? And he said, thousands. They said, fine, we have hundreds of thousands of mercenaries all over the world. Do you think you can have an agent on all of your family? All of your family, Mr. Patel? At all times, Mr. Patel? Mr. Bongino, can you make sure that your children are not in danger at baseball practice from a sniper 16 miles away? Can you make sure of that, Mr. Bongino? Can you make sure that Putin doesn't decide to irradiate your Cheerios, Miss Bondi? Can you make sure that you radiation scan your cereal to make sure the milk didn't come from a Chernobyl cow? And that's the thing is that's what you have to do. You really have to think this through because if it is a global pedophile network, they have that power. And you go shaking that tree, guess what's going to fall out? Bombs.
Because we still think that the government works the way that it's told us that it works, that, hey, if we just get the right people in power, then we have the power to make changes and controls. And then what I think, which is why, to be completely honest with you, I'm not even as angry at what's her name, Pam and Cash, because look,
what are they supposed to do?
If we're to assume that this is all real, I think a lot of people do, then if there really is a cabal out there that's trying to protect themselves, if they would go to such lengths to essentially murder Epstein and cover it up to the degree that they have, you think they're just going to waltz in some outside FBI director who's going to come in and expose them all? Do you think that he's just going to walk into the door and be like, I'm going to make change, I'm going to shut the light out there? No, you're not, and no, you're not. Has anyone here seen, real quick, has anyone here seen Sicario 2? Did anyone see that movie?
No, I didn't know there was a Sicario 1.
The very opening scene with what's his name, Josh Brolin, when he's sitting there with the Somali guy and he's interrogating him and the guy's not talking. You know what he does? He pulls up a tablet, shows him a tablet. It's like, is that your brother's house? Is that where your brother lives right there? Oh, wouldn't it be bad if like a predator drone just go and strike your house and then literally had to watch his brother die right in front of him to get answers out of him? And now we think that, oh, that's just a movie. They would never do that in real life.
Yeah.
Really? Is that the line you want to die on?
I just want to throw this one at you. Did everybody forget that one of the Rothschild grandchildren got blown the fuck up? Did everybody forget that guy just got like John Wick suicide bomb in the starter of your card? Like that happened and everybody was like, well, that was weird, and just moved the fuck on. One of the inheritors of the largest fortunes on earth was blown the fuck up 007 style.
Yep. Yeah, that's just the way that it is. And like I said, totally understand that people looking at it, well, they're still not going on their campaign promises. Yes, that's true. You also have to see that there's a much bigger play at here than just campaign promises as well. If we're to believe everything that we say that we believe about this story. So it's one of those stories that does require us to kind of step back and kind of look at a much bigger picture than just U.S. politics. Because whether you believe who's ever involved in this story is really involved, you have to accept that this is a much bigger picture than just the United States of America and U.S. politics. This is quite literally a global ploy that we're watching here.
You know who's behind this?
You know what we call all this? for what it is. We call this terrorism, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
This is what terrorism is. So, like, I could have sort of didn't negotiate with terrorists, but
Who's behind all of this?
Well,
right?
technically, the FBI and the CIA doesn't negotiate, so I mean, he would be correct.
You know who's behind this, right?
Who?
Yakub.
Oh God!
This is the takeover.
Yakub. I knew it.
He prophesied this. He prophesied this back in the 30s. We should have seen this coming.
Yeah, it's coming. It's again.
That white devil that he created.
The earth will be as flat as his head.
Mm-hmm. Any final words on this one before we wrap things up and get on out of here?
Yeah, you play the. Oh, sorry, Cider.
I know. I just want to make it abundantly, largely, massively, bigly clear. Okay, if there is a nice lady at a bar that wants to go back to a place like a hotel, and you don't know her and you haven't seen her around, and she just really likes you, run the fuck away. Just tell her, sorry, you have turbo AIDS and you need to go unplug your robot penis and charge it for the night.
If there is a 10 at a bar who's really, really interested in you and you have not pursued her at all, you don't know what she is, she's a spy. Run. She's a spy at best and an assassin at worst.
Or a high-priced call girl. So
right.
Yeah.
Either way, you're in trouble,
you
sir.
can't afford it. So
right.
Your heart, your balls, your wallet that you got to protect.
See, that was.
It's like they tell people in the Marines, the stripper does not love you.
Yeah, I feel like that's in the hand guide. Like that's like chapter 3. The art of war, and also that hoe don't.
The stripper does not love you, and if you do get in a fight at a bar, tell people that you're in the Navy. That's the handbook for them.
That's the lost pages of Sun Tzu's Art of War. The hoes don't love you back, bro. The hoes don't love you back.
Nope. Bitches ain't nothing but hoes with tricks.
Yep.
That's what my father taught me.
Why do they like the cereal so much? I don't understand.
Because they're bunnies.
Oh.
They're
Whoa. That's really weird that the Trix Rabbit is a slut shamer.
Yep.
Wow. Whoa. I gotta put that on 4chan.
That's why they never gave him milk.
Now, look, real quick before we get out of here, I know we went pretty heavy on this topic, and I normally kind of end things on a higher, lighthearted note, so I'm going to put this up here for a second. No, Jennifer Love Hewitt was at the premiere
and her
of
huge ass. Thank you. That's just competing with Bryce Dallas Harris, or whatever her name is. Howard. Whatever. I can't. Her ass is so huge. I can't think.
So I'm going to ask a bunch of supposedly heterosexual men here on this panel, just real quick. Could she still get it?
No.
Of course.
She could get it with me. This is about where I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I will say this.
When that comes down on you, you can hear a thunderclap, mister.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I will say this. Jennifer Love Hewitt was my first crush, and she can still get it in my book.
See?
So.
See?
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the ones that gets better like wine.
Mm-hmm. She hasn't hit Lena Dunham territory yet, so I mean she's still floating on that borderline, but she's still good.
She's not the horse face one.
What's that?
And to a lot of fellas out there listening to this and watching this, let me just tell you this right now: if your wife or woman still looks this good at 45, you hit a home run. Because there's a lot of women at 45 that don't nearly look this good. I'm just saying.
So, my father had a rule, and it was one of those secret things he didn't say out loud around my mother. And he said, if you want to know what your future wife will look like in a few years, look at her mother. That is the quickest way to find out how she's going to age. And I was like, son of a bitch. Old man had some good advice after all. That's what I do. I asked to meet the parents immediately. By like the third date, I'm like, so, is it time for me to meet your mom?
Absolutely.
Can you at least show me a picture of your mom? Is she still around?
Can we be Facebook friends? Can I friend your mom and poke her?
And then all of a sudden, there's not a fourth date. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, right. She doesn't call back now. I send her memes.
There could be a first date with the mom.
Yeah, right. Mom, however.
Mom liked the post.
Could be a sex crazy psycho with a granny complex. So there you go.
Oh, wow. That's like almost all of the Zoomer men.
That's
it's really weird.
That's a Tex Avery cartoon.
You talk to Zoomermen about what they're into, and they're like describing an AARP candidate, and it's like, oh brother, no.
Well,
No.
dude, I mean, they get free rent if they get to move into one of those communities, and it has a pool.
It's like the reverse of the gold digger.
Yeah, so they need to start watching more Harold and Maude.
Yep.
I think the problem with our society is that we've given some people too many rights. I think we need to dial
Yeah.
back on the rights.
Whoa, moms teaches teens? Is that like Big Brothers, Big Sisters program or something? Is it a single mom program or something that helps kids?
Yes, absolutely. It's like Mr. Rogers.
I'm too far north, man. I don't know why what is it? Is it a porn site? Is that what it is?
No,
Yeah,
we'll
actually,
discuss it after
Okay.
after the show.
Well, I don't know. I'm a
It's your
penal-
Crib's favorite site.
Moms teach teens like MTT. Let your mom know that if she's bored on it, okay, here we go. All right. Yep.
Oh, that's where
I
the
fell
sex-
into it.
that's
I
where the sex is.
realized. Yeah. I fell into it.
Don't you hate when you just fall into your mom's pussy?
It's only been a couple of times, Leslie, and they were quite extraordinary cases. I try to avoid the older types because it's not the baggage or anything. I want to have kids. And, a lot of those types are kind of like done with that,
See, everyone gives me shit about that too. Like, I'm a young guy still. I should still be going out with 20-year-olds.
My father was 60 years old when I was born. My mother was 30, okay, gentlemen?
Hey, you are
okay?
right.
Yeah.
For me personally, I feel like a 21-year-old. Unfortunately, there's never one around.
For some reason, I just
You're
knew you
feeling
weren't
a
about to talk
21-year-old?
about.
Wow.
I feel like
Good
a
job, Rick.
21-year-old.
Oh, you feel like one.
I feel like a 21-year-old, but there's never one around.
All right, Groucho.
For some reason, I just knew that Rick was not going to talk about dating cougars. Like, I just knew that was not where the direction.
Well,
of the
my
conversation
point,
was
I
gonna
mean,
go.
according to you guys, it would be cougars. It'd be saber-toothed tigers.
God damn.
I'm
Rick's in that territory, the
someone,
Golden Girls,
if
you
I
know?
tried to find an older woman, we're talking like I'd have to look for like the Betty White lookalike.
Grave robber, you know?
Like, he's going on dates at hospice care.
Yeah, right?
Like, be a wealthy widower, just find the
You'd
right
be just like you'll just be like what's her name, Lisa Moran, whatever the hell her name was.
So I know this because my father was ancient. So old people have to take the eye exam driver's test again. If they fail it, they don't get their license back. So like Rick's outside the DMV like, hello ladies, you need a ride home.
Would you like to Uber
I
and
don't
chill?
hit bars. I hit tea shops.
Right?
Would you like to take a ride in my '92 Geo?
2008 Mazda, sir.
Where's the
And on-
console?
And on that note, we got to get out of here. So I'm going to go ahead and let you guys sign off with the stuff you want. Rob, I'm pretty sure he just wants to go home and go to sleep and move on with his life. So what do you got?
I was actually falling asleep at 7:40 this evening because I'm just doing. But yeah, I made it through. It was good. Good topics, good show, good laughs. You can follow me over on Twitter. I talk about movies and other stuff. I did get a lot of shit for calling Jennifer Love Hewitt fat, and that's not fair. I'm just making fun of her because she was talking about how she was victimized earlier in her career, and she's annoying. So.
I thought you were going to talk about her huge ass.
Take that, Haw.
I thought you
it's
meant
fine.
fat like PHAT fat.
I don't
Take that,
like.
Host.
Yeah, I don't like to objectify women. So
That's it. Absolutely.
Anyway,
I don't like to do it. I just do it.
It's reflexive.
Eso ni te lo crees tú.
half of July is over. Follow me on my Twitter. I watch movies. That's it. Bye.
Bye.
All right, then. Rick, what you got coming up?
Well, first I'm gonna try to write my reviews for Superman and other films that I've seen. I'm getting ready for Summer Under the Stars, and I'm also going to do the Plaza Film Festival. So I'll be watching some of those movies that they'll be screening. I'm looking forward to seeing some that I've never seen before, and maybe hit a couple of new ones. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Just movie reviews, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Although it's been 6 months, and you know, I'm getting a little impatient with my deportation orders. Were they lost in the mail?
Well, like I said, we can just throw you back on the other side of the border if you just want a little bit of action. Like we can arrange to just have you take.
I'm sure I can find action in Juarez.
Eddie, what's going on?
My world is rocking hard and having a good time. And what else is going? I don't know what else is going. My world isn't that great. It's like okay. I was sick. I was literally like really really sick before in this morning, and then I started doing the show and I got a lot better. So at least I got a lot whatever I had out and like made it entertaining. I hope so. Yeah, I can catch me on X or Twitter. Same name.
All right. The man whose camera broke like 3 hours ago. How's it going?
Great, as you can tell. I'm just spirited with this, as you can see. So, probably won't be talking about Jennifer Love Hewitt's huge ass on Friday with its Friday Night Slam Ball. Hopefully, we'll have that going. If not, on Saturday we do have the Untitled Nostalgia Show, where Jacob tortures me with things from the past that I unfortunately, or fortunately, in the case of Degrassi, missed. Last time we did that, we watched an episode where a man shot his dick off. And that was unfortunate because he died from that. Who knew? If you shoot your dick off, you'll die.
Died. He shot himself right into diverticulitis.
Yeah, he shot himself right in the knotted part of the dick right there. Don't do that. That's dangerous. Anyway, you can check us out at Bounding Into Comics, where I've posted that Jarrell rap video. You can just show that to your friends if you want the... I'm done.
I was just over it.
Yeah, I'm done.
What I got coming up here? So yeah, Friday we should be doing some slam ball related stuff. Saturday we will be doing the retro show. I had an event pop up on Saturday. I wasn't able to do it this week, but we'll be doing it on Saturday. And I promised MTV Spring Break, and we'll deliver MTV Spring Break. That's Saturday. Sunday, I'm going to do a series, a 2-part series, coming up on episode 100 on the Bible Lens, and I'm going to talk about how to survive the tribulation. And I'm going to do it in the context of you realize that you're in the worst period of human history, and you're trying to figure out if you're going to live. Spoiler alert, you probably won't, but I'll tell you how to survive it anyway. And then next week, we'll be back here, same time, same place, and I'm pretty sure there's this show called 01 that we do on Mondays, too. That's a thing. But it's nowhere near as over as Slam Ball, so we'll work on that there. So as everyone else here, as everyone who listens to us on YouTube, on X, on Rumble, thank you very much for joining another Tuesday night with us. We're going to get on out of here. Adios, goodbye, and good night. Wave to the people.
I'm waving.
Right.
And literally the only person who can wave is Rob, so that's great.
Okay.
Making your way through the daily grind takes everything you've got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to tune away? All those nights when you're feeling low, the rent is overdue, and your coffee maker's broken, your luck just seems to skew, and your boss is always on your case. Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. Wanna be where you can see our troubles are all the same. You wanna be where everybody knows your name. Roll out of bed and you feel the dread. The morning's looking bleak. And your internet is down again. You haven't slept all week, and your car just broke down on the way. Be glad there's a place online where you can feel at ease. In the barroom, podcast friends, we share our thoughts and tease. Every story shared, every laugh so free. Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. Wanna be where you can see our troubles are all the same. You wanna be where everybody knows your name. So here's to the moments we all hold dear. In this barroom of the airways with friends so near. Every story shared, every heartfelt cheer. It's more than just a podcast, it's where we steer.
I still don't feel like I know how to shoot these things.